On her deathbed, Grandma Chin made Chin Songcheng promise to marry me, and he agreed. I had feelings for him, so I didn't object. For the next 4 years, I devoted myself to being a dutiful wife, only to be met with Chin Songcheng's growing resentment. The day of the car accident, he stood by and did nothing to save me. My love for Chin Songcheng died along with my life that day. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself back at the Chin residence just after I first arrived. I tried to avoid Chin Songcheng, but he kept pursuing me. Blood trickled into my eyes, casting a crimson hue over everything in my vision. Though months had passed, I instantly recognized the figure rushing toward me. It was Chin Songcheng. My sluggish heartbeat quickened. Was he here to save me? I tried to call out to him, but blood gushed from my mouth the moment I opened it, choking my voice completely. Chin Songcheng rushed past me without even a moment's hesitation. Soon, his frantic voice echoed in my ears, sometimes near, sometimes far. You Ting, stay with me, don't fall asleep. So he was here to save you Ting, not me. But I don't want to die. I'm only 26, I still want to live. Chin Songcheng walked past me carrying Yu Ting. With all my strength, I grabbed his ankle, coughing up blood as I pleaded, save me. He glanced down at me, met my eyes, then shook off my hand and ran away with Yu Ting in his arms. The sounds of police sirens and ambulances blended together, echoing in my ears. The doctor rushed toward me, blocking my view of Chin Songcheng. The doctor was speaking, but I couldn't make out what she was saying. My life was slipping away, and so was my love for Chin Songcheng. I stared in the direction where Chin Songcheng had disappeared, wanting to ask why he had shaken off my hand, why he hadn't saved me. But I'll never get the chance to ask now. I'm dying. A voice reached my ears. Miss Lin. Wake up, we've arrived. I opened my eyes and stared blankly at the person before me. Uncle Wu had resigned and returned to his hometown years ago. How could I be seeing him now? Hesitantly, I called out, Uncle Wu. The person in front of me smiled and said, Miss Lin, we've arrived. Please step out of the car. I stepped out of the car, taking in the grand and ancient Chin family mansion before me, then glanced down at my faded, frayed hoodie and jeans. An unbelievable thought crossed my mind. I had been reborn. It seemed like the day I first arrived at the Chin residence. Seeing me standing still, the waiting maid spoke up, Miss Lin, please follow me. The matriarch is waiting for you inside. I followed the maid as she led the way inside. After Grandma Chin passed away in my previous life, I never set foot in the Chin family's ancestral home again. Now, looking at this place where I had lived for several years, it felt completely unfamiliar. The maid ushered me into the living room and said to the woman sitting upright on the sofa, Madam, Miss Lin has arrived. The nanny stepped aside, revealing Madam Chin, whom she had been blocking from view. Tears welled up unexpectedly as I beheld the kindly elderly lady with her silver hair elegantly coiffed, dressed in a black embroidered qipao. Noticing my tears, her smile instantly faded into concern. She rose and approached me, taking my hand as she asked, Why are you crying? The warmth from her hand made me truly feel that Grandma Chin standing before me was real and alive. I hugged her tightly, sobbing as I said, Grandma, I've missed you so much. Grandma Chin thought I had mistaken her for my own grandmother. Patting my back gently, she whispered, I'm right here, sweetheart, no more tears. After calming down, I helped Grandma Chin settle onto the sofa. Grandma Chin stroked my head and said, You're such a good child. From now on, you'll stay with me. And I'll take care of you just like your own grandmother would. Thank you, Grandma. No need to thank me, dear. I've already prepared your room. Let me show you around. I helped Grandma Chin up to the second floor. Before entering the room, I glanced at the one across the hall, Chin Songcheng's room. Though he wasn't home at the moment, I turned my attention back and followed Grandma into the room. Grandma said, Let me know if there's anything you'd like changed, and I'll have it rearranged. I love it, thank you, Grandma. I told you, no need to thank me. Grandma Chin tapped my forehead gently. You must be tired from the journey. Get some rest. I'll have someone call you when dinner is ready. All right, I'll do as you say, Grandma. After Grandma Chin left the room, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, trying to process the fact that I had been reborn. In my previous life, Grandma Chin was diagnosed with late-stage liver cancer during my junior year of college. She passed away shortly after I graduated. Now that I've been given a second chance, I'm determined to keep her alive. This body had been running on just 1 or 2 hours of sleep for several days straight while arranging Grandma's funeral. Grandma was just buried yesterday, and today I was brought to the Chin household, exhausted from several sleepless nights and a 7 to 8 hour journey. I drifted off to sleep while lost in thought. In my sleep, I dreamt of the scene from my death. Just as the dream showed Qin Songqing walking away, I was awakened, my eyes fluttered open, still groggy, and as soon as I saw Qin Songqing's face, I blurted out, "Why didn't you save me?" Qin Songqing had been sent by his grandmother to call the girl, soon to become part of their family, downstairs for dinner. Entering the room and finding the girl asleep on the bed, Qin Songqing walked over and emotionlessly nudged her foot dangling off the edge. The moment the girl opened her eyes, she fixed him with a gaze full of sorrow and resentment, demanding an answer. Qin Songqing was slightly taken aback. The girl gave him the impression that he was the one she wanted to confront, and her sadness and resentment were directed at him. Qin Songqing didn't reveal his thoughts, saying with a cold expression, "Since you're awake, get up and come down for dinner." Hearing Qin Songqing's voice, I finally snapped out of my dream completely, looking at Qin Songqing, whose features still held a touch of youthful innocence. I suppressed all my emotions and said calmly, "You go ahead first, I'll be right there." Upon hearing this, Qin Songqing turned and walked away without another word. I splashed some water on my face and headed downstairs toward the dining room. The moment I appeared, all eyes turned toward me. Granny Qin smiled and waved me over, saying, "Zi, come quickly, sit here by me." There was an empty seat next to Grandma Qin, clearly reserved just for me. I walked over and sat down. Qin Ziyue whispered to Qin Yike beside her, "Their clothes are so old and shabby, who knows if they're carrying any germs." She lowered her voice, but it was still loud enough for everyone to hear. Grandma Qin shot Qin Ziyue a displeased look and said, "Keep quiet." Lady Qin II, who was Qin Ziyue's mother, chided her daughter mildly. Yeah, that was quite rude of you." Qin Ziyue pursed her lips and fell silent. Ignoring their exchange, I smiled at Grandma Qin and said, "Grandma." Grandma Qin smiled back at me and said, "Zi, let me introduce you. This is..." Grandma Qin introduced everyone present. "The entire Qin family is here. Grandma Qin's eldest son Qin Zhou, his wife Zhao Jia, younger son Qin Feng, and his wife Lu Yixing. 3 grandchildren, Qin Songqing, Qin Yike, and Qin Ziyue. Qin Songqing and Qin Yike are the children of Qin Zhou and Zhao Jia, and they are biological siblings. Qin Ziyue, on the other hand, is the child of Qin Feng and Lu Yixing. Qin Feng's family does not live in the old house. They were specifically called back by Grandma Qin. I greeted everyone one by one, and each response was polite yet distant, with only Qin Ziyue showing a hint of disdain. In my past life, I desperately wanted to fit in with the Qin family and was hurt by their coldness, but in this life, the only one who matters to me is Grandma Qin. I couldn't care less about how the others treat me. Alright. Grandma Qin was clearly displeased with their attitude and about to lecture them, but I spoke up before she could. "Grandma, I'm hungry." Hearing that I was hungry, Grandma Qin held back her urge to scold them and said, "Zi's hungry. Let's eat, then." After the meal, Grandma Qin asked everyone to stay, but no one wanted to, not even me. I took Grandma Qin's arm and said, "Grandma, there's something I'd like to discuss with you in private." Grandma Qin glanced around and said sternly, "All of you, please leave." The entire Qin Zhou family went upstairs. Qin Feng said, "Mom, we'll come back to see you another day." With that, he left with his wife and daughter. The spacious living room suddenly felt empty. Grandma Qin held my hand and asked, "What did you want to tell me?" "Grandma, I'm planning to move into the dormitory. Why live on campus? Just stay at home. As long as I'm here, no one will dare say a word against you." "It's not that, Grandma. I'd already decided to live on campus before I came here. I have no family left, and you can't always be there to help me. I need to learn to be independent so I can take care of myself in the future." Grandma Qin looked at me with tenderness in her eyes and said, "Alright. I'll respect your decision, but remember, I am your family. Since you call me Grandma, that makes me your real grandmother. Don't ever say you have no family again. Yes, you are my real grandma. I'll come back to visit you often on weekends and during holidays. Your school arrangements are all set. You can start tomorrow. But if you'd like to take a few more days to rest, that's fine too." "No need, Grandma. I'll go to school tomorrow." "Whatever you say, dear. If anyone gives you trouble at school, go find Xiaoya. She's in your class and can help with anything." Xiaocheng and Xiaoka also go to the same school. Xiaocheng's a senior and Xiaoka's a junior, so they're not in your grade, but you can still reach out to them. If they dare ignore you, just tell me. I'll set them straight. "I understand, Grandma." After settling the boarding arrangements with Grandma Chin and seeing her back to her room, I returned to my own room to rest. I opened my suitcase, took out my pajamas, headed to the bathroom for a shower, and then went to bed. The next morning, as I stepped out of my room, I happened to run into Chin Songcheng coming out of his. We exchanged a glance, and I took the initiative to greet him. Morning, Chin Songcheng replied. Morning. After exchanging greetings, I walked ahead while Chin Songcheng followed closely behind me. Chin Songcheng watched Lin Ziyi walking ahead, his gaze filled with curiosity. Last night, he had a dream where a woman at a car crash scene, her face obscured by hair and blood, grabbed his ankle, pleading for help. The sticky sensation of a bloodied hand gripping the ankle felt chillingly real. Chin Songcheng tried to make out the woman's face, but it remained frustratingly blurred. The dream's final words, "Why didn't you save me?" echoed relentlessly. Though the woman's face was unclear, Chin Songcheng felt certain it was Lin Ziyi. They had spoken the same haunting phrase. After breakfast, the three of us, me, the other person, and Chin Yike, drove to school together. I get carsick, so I'll take the front seat. With that, I got into the passenger seat. The two siblings got into the back seat. We rode in silence the whole way. After getting out of the car, we walked into the school together. Once we passed through the main gate, Chin Songcheng said to me, "Yike will take you to meet your homeroom teacher." After saying that, he walked off on his own. The senior year building stands alone, in a different direction from the freshman and sophomore buildings. Chin Yike said to me, "Let's go." I followed Chin Yike to an office. She knocked on the door, and a voice from inside said, "Come in." Once inside, Chin Yike led me to the homeroom teacher's desk and said, "Mr. Cheng, I brought the new student for your class." Ching Jia looked at me with a warm smile and said, "You must be Lin Ziyi, right?" I replied, "Hello, Teacher Cheng, I'm Lin Ziyi. Welcome to our Class 7 family." After we finished exchanging greetings, Chin Yike said, "I'll head back now." "Teacher, alright, thank you for bringing her over." As Chin Yike left, Ching Jia picked up her book and stood. "It's almost morning reading time, I'll take you to the classroom." Ching Jia led me to Class 7. The moment she appeared at the classroom door, the noisy chatter instantly died down. With a stern expression, Ching Jia said, as I walked over here, "Every other class was already doing their morning reading, only you're still making noise, even though you're just freshmen." Ching Jia spoke as she walked toward the podium, and I followed her up there. Students placed their morning reading books on their desks. Some were already reading, while the rest looked at me curiously. I kept my eyes lowered to the ground, standing quietly. A few minutes later, Ching Jia finished speaking and added, "Let me introduce everyone. This is the new student who just transferred to our class." Ching Jia turned to look at me and said, "Why don't you introduce yourself to everyone?" I looked ahead and said briefly, "Hello everyone, my name is Lin Ziyi. It's a pleasure to meet you all." Ching Jia looked at me with some surprise and asked, That's it, alright," Ching Jia said, turning to class monitor Li Yuan. "Take Wang Yang and Zhang Zihao to fetch a desk and chair from Teacher Liu." Wang Yang and Zhang Zihao, thrilled to be called on, jumped up eagerly. Skipping morning reading was a welcome break. After the three left, Ching Jia instructed the remaining students to begin their morning reading. Half an hour later, the trio returned, Wang Yang carrying the stool, and Zhang Zihao hauling the desk. Zhang Zihao asked Ching Jia, "Teacher, where should I put the desk?" "Put it next to Wen Yan." After answering Zhang Zihao, Ching Jia asked me, "Are you nearsighted?" "I'm not nearsighted." "Since you're not nearsighted and you're tall, you can sit in the last row for now. We'll adjust the seating later." "Alright, go take your seat. Come to my office during the break to pick up the textbook." "Okay, thank you, teacher." I sat down next to Wen Yan, who placed the book in the middle and said cheerfully, "Let's look at it together." I said with a smile, "Thanks, you're welcome." As class was about to start, the teacher arrived. Ching Jia exchanged a quick greeting with the teacher before leaving. Noticing an extra person in the classroom, the teacher smiled and said, "We have a new student. What's your name?" I stood up and replied, "Hello, teacher, my name is Lin Ziyi." "Got it, take your seat. Let's begin the class." As the class ended, Wen Yan eagerly said, "Hi, I'm Wen Yan, we'll be desk mates from now on." In class 7 with 51 students, Wen Yan was the tallest and ended up without a partner when seats were assigned. After sitting alone for half a year, he finally got a desk mate, and he was absolutely thrilled. The two students sitting in front of me also said hello to me. The 10 minutes flew by, and the second class began. Right after the second class ended was the long break, so I went to Qingjia to pick up the textbooks. Wu Yan offered to help me carry them and went with me. Seeing us, Qingjia asked Wu Yan, "What brings you here?" Wu Yan replied with a smile, "I'm here to help my deskmate move their books." Qingjia patted a stack of books beside her and said, "Here they are, take them." As Wu Yan reached for the books, I held him back and said to Qingjia, "Teacher, I'd like to apply for on-campus housing, living on campus. Do your parents know about this?" "They know, hold on a second." Qingjia rummaged around and eventually found a boarding registration form from the teacher next door, handing it to me along with a pen. "Fill this out for now, you'll commute these next few days, and I'll let you know once the dormitory is arranged." I took the form, filled it out, and handed it back to Qingjia. "Thank you, teacher." "No problem, take the textbooks and head back to class, don't be late." Wu Yan picked up the books and said goodbye to Qingjia. After leaving the office, I reached out and said, "Let me carry some of those." Wu Yan moved the books away from my hand and said, "It's just a few books, I've got it." Back in the classroom with just a couple of minutes before class, Qin Ziyue came up to my desk with a sour look and said, "Meet me after class, I need to talk to you." After I agreed, Qin Ziyue walked away. Wu Yan asked curiously, "Do you know Qin Ziyue?" "Our families know each other, but I've only met her twice, we're not close. I get the feeling she's not being very nice to you, you should watch your back." "I know, thanks for the heads up." After class, Qin Ziyue walked over, and I stood up to follow her out the back door. When we reached the stairwell corner, Qin Ziyue looked at me with disgust and muttered under her breath, "It's bad enough that grandma brought you home, but putting you in the same class as me is just the worst." After complaining, she started threatening me. "Don't let anyone know about our relationship, or else." I had no patience for her threats and cut her off. "What relationship are you even talking about?" Qin Ziyue was taken aback by my response and froze for a moment. I continued, "I won't let anyone know I have any connection with the Qin family. Let's just pretend we don't know each other. Don't contact me unless necessary, to avoid raising suspicions among our classmates." After saying that, I went back to the classroom. Qin Ziyue watched Lin Ziyi's retreating figure with frustration, thinking to himself, "She stole my lines." 2 days later, Qingjia called me out to the hallway after class. "Your boarding arrangements have been settled, our class dormitory is full, so we had to place you in another class's dorm. If you encounter any problems or bullying after moving in, come find me and I'll help you handle it." "Okay, thank you, teacher. You can head back now." After school in the afternoon, I returned to the Qin residence. Having finished dinner, I spoke to Grandma Qin privately. "Grandma, the school dormitory has been arranged, I'll be moving there tonight." Knowing I wouldn't be swayed, Grandma Qin sighed and said, "I'll have the driver take you." "Thanks, Grandma, I'm heading to my room to pack up my things." The bedding had already been prepared and placed in a suitcase, apart from my toiletries and pajamas. All my other belongings were still in the suitcase, untouched. Within minutes, I had everything packed up, and the room looked exactly as it did the day I arrived. Carrying 2 suitcases downstairs, Grandma Qin saw me off at the door and said wistfully, "If you don't get along with your roommate, just come back and stay here. Spend money when you need to, and if you run out, just let me know, don't skimp." "Okay, Grandma, you can head back now. I'll come visit you often." Back at school, I pulled my suitcases and headed to the dorm room. The dorm is on the first floor, which is great. No need to haul the suitcases up the stairs. An 8-person dormitory with a balcony and a bathroom. The bathroom doesn't have a shower, so you'll need to use the communal bathhouse. The beds are bunk beds, and under each lower bunk, there are 2 square metal lockers for storing personal belongings. The lower bunk near the balcony on the left is unoccupied and piled with books. It was time for evening study hall, and since no one was in the dorm room, I didn't want to mess with anyone's belongings. I placed my suitcase against the wall and headed back to class for the study session. After evening study hall, I returned to the dorm and tried to push the door open, but it wouldn't budge, so I knocked. The door opened quickly, and when I saw who was behind it, my body shuddered involuntarily. The person who opened the door was He Chanqian, the main instigator of the bullying I endured in my past life. He Chanqian blocked the doorway. "Hand on the doorknob, who are you? What are you doing in our dorm?" I thought being bullied wouldn't affect me anymore, but seeing my tormentor again still sent a wave of panic through me. Suppressing my emotions, I said, "I'm the new roommate moving into this dorm." He Chanqian stepped aside, a smile spreading across her face. "Oh, our new roommate, welcome." I forced a smile and walked inside. everyone in the dorm was there, and they all greeted me with smiles when I entered. One girl smiled and greeted me, but her clothes were soaked and her eyes were red. I asked, "How did your clothes get wet, classmate?" "She was just doing laundry and accidentally knocked over the basin," said the girl standing beside her, glaring at her threateningly. Right, the speaker was Lu Huan, one of He Chan's lackeys and one of the people who bullied me in my past life. The girl nodded timidly. I pretended to buy the excuse and said with feigned concern, "Oh, I see, wearing wet clothes might make you sick, you should change quickly." Then, pointing at the books on the bed, I said, "Could you please move these books somewhere else?" "Sure. We'll take care of it right away." A few girls gathered around and moved the books away. After clearing the bed, I took out the bedding from my suitcase and made the bed. The person in the bunk above pointed to the metal locker under the bed on the left and said, "This locker is yours." "Okay, thanks." There was a key in the locker. I put some personal items inside, locked it, and kept the key. After lights out, I lay in bed wide awake. Memories of being bullied in my past life flooding back. In my previous life, during a joint PE class, I stumbled upon He Chan and Lu Huan bullying Su Lianyi in the corner of the sports field, the same girl who just got bullied. I fetched the PE teacher, who caught them red-handed. They apologized to Su Lianyi in front of the teacher and promised never to bully her again. They stopped targeting Su Lianyi, but after a while, they turned on me. I reported it to the teacher, but there was no proof it was them. Once, Su Lianyi witnessed it herself. I asked her to come with me to report them, but she refused. She even said, "If they're bullying you, they'll leave me alone." I asked He Chan why she bullied me, and she said, "You helped Su Lianyi and got us in trouble with the teacher, you had to pay the price for that." So just now, it was obvious that Su Lianyi had been bullied, but I pretended to believe Lu Huan's lame excuse. Su Lianyi doesn't deserve my help in this life. I won't be kind-hearted anymore. I won't clash with the clique He Chan is in, so I won't be bullied by them. With that realization, I cleared my mind and gradually drifted off to sleep. To avoid conflicts with He Chan and Lu Huan, I woke up early every day, left the dorm before they got up, skipped returning at noon, and only came back right before curfew in the evening. After washing up, I went straight to bed. Since we weren't in the same class and I barely spent time in the dorm, we only saw each other briefly before bed with little interaction, so conflicts naturally never arose. Over 2 months passed without any incidents. That day, I made it back to the dorm just before curfew. Same as always, I tossed my backpack onto the bed and went to wash up, only to find the mattress soaked when I got back. Upon checking, the quilt and pillow were drenched too. I shot He Chan a cold glare and asked, "Was this your doing?" He Chan was taken aback that I confronted her directly. After a moment's hesitation, she sneered, "Yeah, I did it. You're so aggressive. Hope you won't pull a knife like your dad did." The sight of He Chan overlapped with memories from my past life. Buried recollections surged up, freezing me in place as if I'd been thrown into an ice cellar. Seeing me frozen, He Chan stepped closer and jabbed my forehead hard. "Oh ho. Did I hit a nerve?" I still didn't react. She shoved me and snapped, "Say something, cat got your tongue." I staggered backward, slamming into the sharp corner of the wall. The jolt of pain snapped me out of my memories. I lunged forward, grabbing He Chan by the throat and shoving her onto my bed. I pinned her down, straddling her waist. My grip tightened relentlessly, and He Chan's eyes began to roll back. Sensing something was wrong, Lu Huan rushed over to pull me away. I released He Chan and drove my elbow hard into Lu Huan's stomach. She collapsed to the floor, clutching her abdomen and groaning. The other terrified roommates scrambled out to fetch the dorm supervisor. He Chan was still lying on the bed, dazed. I seized her throat again, my eyes blazing red as I snarled, "Why did you soak my bed? Tell me or I'll choke the life out of you." As I tightened my grip, He Chan frantically clawed at my hands and cried out in fear. It was my cousin. "She told me to teach you a lesson." I hesitated before uttering a name. "You Ting." He Chan paused, surprised. "How did you know?" Ignoring her question, I pressed on. "Why did she ask you to teach me a lesson?" "She has a crush on Qin Songqing. She saw you walking with him last Friday, and then again when we greeted each other yesterday. When she found out we're roommates, she told me about you and asked me to put you in your place." As soon as He Chan finished speaking, the dorm room door was flung open with force. The plump dorm supervisor, panting heavily, saw me pinning He Chan down with my hands around her neck and said, "Let her go, student, whatever it is, we can talk it out." I got up from He Chan and said to the dorm supervisor with a smile, "We were just fooling around, ma'am." The dorm supervisor looked at He Chan and asked, "Is that true?" I kept my eyes on He Chan as well. Meeting my gaze, He Chan rubbed her neck and said, "That's right, ma'am. We were just fooling around. You can't play like this again. What if something really goes wrong when no one's paying attention?" The dorm supervisor left after finishing her lecture. I shut the door and sat on He Chan's bed. "I'm taking your bed tonight, figure out how to dry mine." With that, I lay down without waiting for her reaction. In my previous life, when He Chan and her crew cornered and beat me in the alley outside school, Chin Songcheng showed up and stopped them. By then I'd been bullied for over a month. Chin Songcheng was the first to notice and put a stop to it. A seed of affection took root in my heart and slowly began to grow. Yu Ting showed up right after and slapped He Chan. She told me she was He Chan's cousin and promised to keep an eye on her, making sure they wouldn't bother me again. Just as she said, He Chan never troubled me again after that. I've always been grateful to her for helping me get rid of He Chan and the others. After marrying Songcheng Chin, Yuding repeatedly made advances toward him. I put up with it at first, but she kept pushing boundaries. Songcheng and I often ended up arguing because of her. Then one day, she called me from Songcheng's phone. "Come to room 07 at AK Club. Today, I'll make it clear who Acheng really loves." When I pushed the door open, Yuding was sitting on Songcheng's lap, facing him as if they were kissing. My mind went blank with shock. "What are you doing?" Yu Ting turned her head and gave me a smirk as she rose from Chin Songcheng's lap. "Sorry, sis, I just tripped and fell onto Acheng." Her words sounded apologetic, but her eyes were full of smugness when she looked at me. I ignored her and turned to Chin Songcheng, asking again, "What were you two doing?" Chin Songcheng rubbed his temples and said, "It's just as she said, you got here so quickly." "What, did I come too soon and interrupt your little moment?" Chin Songcheng frowned at the remark and said, "Do you always have to start a scene the moment you arrive? You know perfectly well whether I'm making a scene or you two are being inappropriate." Just as Chin Songcheng was about to speak, Yu Ting patted his arm and said, "Sis, there's really nothing going on between us. Please don't take it out on Acheng." I looked at Yu Ting and said bluntly, "You're practically begging to be the other woman. Have you no self-respect?" Chin Songcheng stood up and scolded me. "Enough, stop making assumptions and hurling insults at people." After saying that, Chin Songcheng composed himself and said to Yu Ting, "I'm sorry." Yu Ting said in a sickly sweet tone, "It's fine, even though your wife's words were harsh, it's only because she loves you. I won't take it to heart. I can't stay here any longer." Chin Songcheng, "Come home with me." Yuding continued with her passive-aggressive remarks. "Acheng, you should go home with your wife now, or she'll get upset again." "Alright, I'm leaving first, you all carry on." Chin Songcheng looked at me and said coldly, "Let's go." Chin Songcheng had been drinking, so I drove him home. He didn't say a word the entire time, and after getting home, he washed up and went straight to bed. I stood by the bedside and said, "Don't you owe me an explanation?" Chin Songcheng remained silent, so I pulled the covers off him and demanded again, "Give me an explanation." Chin Songcheng sat up impatiently and said, "I've already explained it to you, you just refused to believe me. She used your phone to call me over, and when I got there, I saw her sitting on your lap. You both claimed it was an accident, but no one would believe that. She used my phone to call you so you could pick me up, that's all. Couldn't you have made the call yourself? She's my friend, what's the big deal about her making a call for me? You haven't let me touch your phone for ages, but you let her. Are you really just friends?" Chin Songcheng grabbed his phone from the nightstand and threw it at me. "Here, have it," making a fuss over something so trivial. "Are you done yet?" The corner of the phone hit my leg, and it hurt badly. The pain drained my will to argue, and I asked calmly, "Am I annoying you?" Chin Songcheng's temper flared, and he lashed out without thinking, "Yes, I'm sick of you. You have to control and question everything, what I eat, what I wear, who I go out with, what I do. It's absolutely suffocating." I nodded without saying a word and walked out of the room. Without turning on the lights, I sat in the living room for a while before calling my lawyer. The call connected, and the lawyer's groggy voice came through. "Mrs. Chin, sorry to disturb your sleep." "No problem, what can I do for you?" "Please draft a divorce agreement and send it to me by 8 a.m. tomorrow." "Well, if you and Mr. Chin are getting divorced, just inventorying the assets will take several days. The divorce agreement can't be prepared that quickly. I don't want anything." The lawyer paused for a moment. "Alright." After hanging up, I sat on the couch all night, Thinking about the past, the more I thought, the more I felt like my life was a complete failure. At 7. The housekeeper arrived and saw me sitting on the couch looking utterly exhausted. She asked in surprise, "Madam, you didn't sit here all night, did you?" I didn't answer, but instead said, "You handled breakfast today." With that, I got up and went upstairs. Breakfast used to be something the housekeeper and I prepared together. Sensing something was off, she didn't press further and quietly went to the kitchen to make breakfast. I printed out the divorce agreement using the studies printer, filled in the sections I needed to complete, and finally signed it. Chin Songcheng was sitting at the table having breakfast when I came downstairs. He looked like he wanted to say something when he saw me, but before he could speak, I placed the divorce papers in front of him and said, "Let's get a divorce, I won't bother you anymore." Chin Songcheng stared at the divorce papers for a long moment, then stood up and said, "You're not thinking clearly right now, let's talk when you've calmed down." "I've thought it over all night, and I'm perfectly calm. I want a divorce. Is this because of what I said last night? If so, I apologize. Those were angry words, not how I truly feel. Those words last night are part of it, but not the whole reason." "Then what else is it? Just tell me, and we can work it out." "Because of Yuting." Chin Songcheng frowned. "Why do you always bring Yuting into our issues? Every time I mention Yuting, you argue with me. That's the main reason." Chin Songcheng fell silent, pursed his lips, and said, "I won't have any contact with Yuting from now on. Is that okay? Then tell me, whatever you want, I'll go along with it." "Divorce. Are you really set on this divorce? Fine, have it your way." Chin Songcheng signed the divorce papers. We went to the Civil Affairs Bureau that very day to register, and I moved out right after we got back. I don't plan on staying in this city, and I don't like my current job either. I only took it to feel a little more worthy of Chin Songcheng. I handed in my resignation letter. My boss couldn't talk me out of it, so he settled for having me finish my current project before leaving. That was only fair, so I agreed. A month had passed since I got the divorce papers, and my job was only 2 months away from wrapping up for good. Before I left, a few close colleagues threw me a farewell gathering. On my way there, I got into a car accident and saw Chin Songcheng, whom I hadn't seen since the divorce was finalized. He ignored my cries for help and walked away with Yuting in his arms. I spent the whole night trapped in dreams about my past life, waking up completely exhausted. After what happened last night, the others in the dorm are a bit afraid of me and avoid talking to me. I ignored them, finished my morning routine, and headed to class, since He Chantian isn't causing me any trouble. I've been attending classes peacefully every day and visiting Grandma Chin on weekends, but the peace didn't last long before He Chantian started causing trouble again. Alright, right after lunch outside school, as I stepped out of the restaurant, 2 guys grabbed me and dragged me into a nearby alley. I recognized them as part of He Chantian's crew, so I didn't struggle or scream and went along with them without resistance. Sure enough, it was He Chantian waiting in the alley. 2 guys shoved me toward He Chantian and blocked my escape route from behind. Steadying myself, I glared at He Chantian. "Did Yuting send you again?" Meeting Lin Ziyi's gaze, He Chantian recalled the suffocating feeling of being choked. She clasped her hands pleadingly. "I don't want to do this either, but my family's business depends on hers. Just play along, we'll make it look convincing. Afterwards, pretend you've been beaten up for a few days. That way I can report back and you won't actually get hurt. I have another way." "What's the plan?" I didn't answer, just threw a punch right at He Chantian's eye. He Chantian clutched her injured eye and yelped, "Ow!" Lu Huan, standing beside her, commanded the others, "Get her." At Lu Huan's command, a guy behind me started cursing. "How dare you hit my girl Qian? I'll knock your teeth out." He threw a punch at me while shouting, but I dodged and grabbed his wrist, flipping him over my shoulder onto the ground. The others rushed at me when they saw this, but I quickly took them all down. In my past life, after Chin Songcheng found out I was being bullied, he had his family's bodyguard teach me combat. Handling these students was a piece of cake. Seeing others closing in, He Chantian covered her eyes and backed away several steps, afraid of getting caught in the crossfire. From a distance, Chin Songcheng saw Lin Ziyi being dragged into an alley by 2 boys. When he followed, he found her in a scuffle with a group of students. While running over, he shouted, "STO." He barely got the word out before Chin Songcheng fell silent and froze in place, because he saw Lin Ziyi kick a student to the ground with a single blow. In no time, the fight was over, and Lin Ziyi stood out among the groaning students lying on the ground. I spotted Chin Songcheng the moment he arrived. but I was too busy to pay him any mind. After the fight, I glanced at Yu Ting running up behind him, standing beside Qin Songqing. Yu Ting looked at the students scattered across the ground, her brow slightly furrowed, then, like a caring older sister, she said to me, "Fighting is wrong, especially when it's against your own classmates." At her words, Qin Songqing shot her a bewildered look before deliberately putting some distance between them. I eyed her and asked, "Who are you?" "My name is Yu Ting, I cut her off. "You're called Yu Ting." Yu Ting hummed an acknowledgement. "Yes, do you know me?" "You could say that," I said, pointing at He Chanqian. "She told me her cousin sent her to teach me a lesson." "Her cousin's name is Yu Ting, that's you, right?" Cornered, Yu Ting panicked but tried to play it cool. "I don't even know you. Why would I send someone to bully you?" That's exactly the response I was waiting for. "She said you have a crush on Qin Songqing, and when you saw me walking with him, you sent her to teach me a lesson." Qin Songqing, realizing he was involved, turned to Yu Ting and asked, "Did you really do that?" Yu Ting looked hurt and wronged, saying, "I never did anything like that. I don't know why this student would accuse me like this. We don't even know each other. Why would I make up a story about you?" Yu Ting was left speechless by that remark. "Next time, I'll hit you too." I couldn't be bothered to waste any more time on her, so I left after saying my piece. Qin Songqing saw Lin Ziyi leaving and turned to follow, but Yu Ting grabbed his arm. With a pitiful look, Yu Ting pleaded, "I truly had no idea about this matter, but I will definitely get to the bottom of it and give that classmate a proper explanation." Qin Songqing pulled his hand away, his expression a mix of frustration and disbelief. "I'm not an idiot," he said. After saying this, he ran toward Lin Ziyi, who was already walking away. Qin Songqing caught up to me and adjusted his pace to walk alongside me. "Who taught you how to fight?" "None of your business." Qin Songqing didn't expect such a cold response. He rubbed his nose and said, "I get the feeling you don't like me very much." The same icy tone, and now she'd shortened 4 words to 2. Qin Songqing was even more convinced that Lin Ziyi disliked him, so he stopped trying to make conversation. When we reached the school gate, Qin Songqing finally said, "I'm sorry you got bullied because of me. I'll handle this situation and make sure they don't bother you again." "Alright, is there anything else?" "No, that's all." I kept my farewell polite and walked away before he could respond. 5. Qin Songqing watched Lin Ziyi walk away, then headed back to the classroom in a sour mood. That night, Qin Songqing had a dream. The dream replayed the same alley scene with the same people. But this time it was Lin Ziyi who was getting beaten. He stepped in to stop the bullies, and Yu Ting came forward to demand an apology from He Chanqian, making her promise to never harass Lin Ziyi again. After waking up, Qin Songqing remembered every detail of his dream with perfect clarity. He rarely dreamed, but having dreamt about Lin Ziyi twice in a row, he felt it was more than just a dream. The dreams piqued Qin Songqing's interest in Lin Ziyi. When she returned on the weekend, he seized every opportunity to be near her, hoping to uncover something. After observing for half a year, he found nothing and had no further dreams. Once they started university and saw each other less, Qin Songqing let go of his curiosity about Lin Ziyi. After the college entrance exams, I took on a part-time job that covered room and board. It wasn't about needing money, I just wanted to start saving up. I haven't touched any of the money Grandma Qin gave me over the years. It's all sitting in a bank account, and I plan to give it back to her someday. Grandma left me 23,700 yuan. I'm an orphan, so I receive a monthly stipend and get tuition waivers. Throughout high school, I received financial aid, scholarships, and competition prizes every year, so after a few years, my savings grew to 35,000, which was more than enough for college expenses. During college, I visited Grandma Qin every winter and summer break. Though I only stayed for a few days each time, the rest of my breaks were spent working part-time to save money. Ever since I came to the Qin family, I urged Grandma Qin to get a health checkup every year. In my junior year, Grandma Qin was diagnosed with a liver issue, but it was caught early and fully cured after treatment. To prevent Grandma Qin from developing other health issues, we've kept up with her annual medical checkups. As my graduation approached, Grandma Qin insisted on coming to campus to take graduation photos with me. On graduation day, I waited at the school gate in my academic gown for Grandma Qin to arrive. Grandma Qin stepped out of the car with her hair elegantly coiled and secured by a wooden cloud-patterned hairpin, wearing a subtle qipao and embroidered shoes, moving with the poise of a distinguished lady. Time truly spares the beautiful. In my past life, Grandma Chin was lying in a hospital bed with tubes all over her body. Only able to make a phone call to me, now she's standing right in front of me, healthy and well, the greatest blessing of this second chance at life. All my emotions vanished the moment I laid eyes on Qin Songqing. What's he doing here? Qin Songqing followed Grandma Chin, holding a bouquet of flowers. As they approached, Grandma Chin beamed and said, "You look absolutely lovely today." I replied with a smile, "Was I not beautiful before? You're so beautiful. RZE is always beautiful, every single day." Qin Songqing waited until I finished talking with Grandma Chin before handing me the flowers. "Happy graduation." My smile faded a little as I took the flowers and said, "Thank you." Then I linked arms with Grandma Chin and said, "Let's go inside, Grandma. It's almost time for photos." Granny Chin said with a cheerful smile, "Let's go." Qin Songqing followed along on his own. After taking group photos and a few with my roommates, I started taking pictures with Granny Chin. After a few shots, Granny Chin called Qin Songqing over to join us. Later, she said, "Let me take one of just the two of you." Not wanting to disappoint Grandma Chin, I took a few photos alone with Qin Songqing. Looking at the photo of Qin Songqing and me, Grandma Chin said half jokingly, half seriously, "You two look quite good together in this picture." I replied bluntly, "I don't see it." Out of the corner of my eye, I noticed Qin Songqing turning to look at me, but I pretended not to notice. Qin Songqing looked at Lin Ziyi and sighed inwardly. Yesterday, when his grandmother mentioned coming to take graduation photos with her, he inexplicably volunteered to accompany her. On the way there, he was curious about how Lin Ziyi would react upon seeing him. Just as he expected, she still wanted nothing to do with him. He still had no idea why she disliked him so much. After taking photos, I spent the day with Grandma Chin, checked into a hotel room for the night, and saw them off at the airport the next day. After meeting Lin Ziyi, Qin Songqing found himself thinking about her from time to time, wondering what could have made her hold a grudge against him for so many years. He asked himself honestly, he was a decent person who hadn't done anything to deserve such dislike. After thinking about it for over a month, Qin Songqing dreamed of Lin Ziyi again in his sleep at night. This time, it was in a hospital room. His grandmother lay in bed with tubes attached, while he and Lin Ziyi stood by her bedside. With great effort, his grandmother said, "Xiaoqing, promise me, marry Ziyi and take good care of her." He replied, "Grandma, I promise." Only after he agreed did Grandma Chin manage a faint smile, saying haltingly, "Good, go ahead and register your marriage with Ziyi as soon as possible. There's no need to observe mourning for me." With those words, she breathed her last. He knelt by the hospital bed and cried out sorrowfully, "Grandma." At that cry, Qin Songqing jolted upright in bed, jolted awake. The grief in his heart still lingered. After a moment, he checked the time. 5:40. Sitting on the bed, Qin Songqing began to reflect. Grandma had always disliked going to the hospital, let alone getting checkups. Ever since Lin Ziyi arrived, she never missed a single year urging Grandma to get her medical checkup. A few years back, it was during one of those checkups that they discovered Grandma had liver issues. Without those exams, the problem would have gone unnoticed until it worsened, and Grandma might have passed away just like in the dream. Realizing this, Qin Songqing became convinced that Lin Ziyi knew something. Qin Songqing booked the earliest flight to Lin Ziyi's city, texting his assistant to arrange work matters on the way to the airport. Arriving at the airport past 7, Qin Songqing called his grandmother. Grandma Chin answered and asked, "Why are you calling me so early?" Hearing his grandmother's voice, Qin Songqing finally felt at ease. "I need to reach Lin Ziyi. Could you send me her number?" "Grandma, what did you need to see Ziyi for?" Qin Songqing made an excuse. "She's about to graduate soon, so I was asking about her job search." "That's good, if you can help her. Please do, try to find her a well-paying job." "Okay, Grandma, how have you been feeling lately?" "I'm perfectly fine." The boarding announcement came on, and Qin Songqing said, "Grandma, I'm about to board the plane, I'll hang up now." Grandma Chin also heard the boarding announcement through the phone, acknowledged with a hum, and ended the call. After getting off the plane, Qin Songqing took a taxi straight to Lin Ziyi's school, got stopped by security at the school gate. Qin Songqing called Lin Ziyi. It was an unknown number without a saved contact, yet those were digits I knew by heart from my past life. I didn't want to answer, but he kept calling, so I finally picked up. "Hello, this is Qin Songqing. I'm at your school's entrance and need to talk to you about something. Let's just discuss it over the phone." "No, this is important. We need to talk in person." After a long silence, I said, "I'll be right out." Arriving at the school gate, I asked, "What's this about?" Chin Songcheng looked at me and said, "I had a dream last night. I felt like I was being played. This is the super important thing you said we had to talk about in person. In the dream, my grandmother passed away from illness, and before she died, she told me to marry you." I looked at Chin Songcheng in astonishment upon hearing this. Chin Songcheng had been watching Lin Ziyi, and the moment she looked up, he saw the shock on her face. Realizing I had overreacted, I quickly composed myself. "It's just a dream. Was it really worth coming all this way to tell me?" "I don't think it was just a dream. The first time I met you, I dreamed of a woman begging me for help, demanding to know why I didn't save her, back in high school, when you got into that fight in the alley. I dreamed that night that you were the one getting beaten by them." Lin Ziyi's reaction was subtle, but Chin Songcheng had been watching her closely, catching every nuance. Chin Songcheng stated with conviction, "You know all about these things, or rather, you've experienced them yourself." I averted Chin Songcheng's gaze and said, "They're just dreams. Everything you're saying is nothing but your imagination." Seeing that Lin Ziyi was unwilling to talk, Chin Songcheng didn't press further. "Your reaction has already proven that what I said is true. It's fine if you don't want to talk. I believe I'll keep dreaming and eventually figure out everything I want to know. Think whatever you want." With that, I turned and walked away, afraid that continuing the conversation would reveal too much. Chin Songcheng didn't try to stop her. After Lin Ziyi left, he also departed, heading to the airport while booking his flight on the way. After a few steps, I suddenly calmed down. It's not like Chin Songcheng knowing about our past life would change anything, and I could even ask him why he didn't save me. With that thought, I completely relaxed and slowly walked back to my dorm. A week after the last dream, Chin Songcheng had another one, this time dreaming that he and Lin Ziyi got their marriage certificate. Since his grandmother had just passed away, they only registered their marriage and planned to hold the wedding ceremony a few years later. After waking up, Chin Songcheng sent a message to Lin Ziyi, "I dreamed we got our marriage certificate, but we didn't have a wedding. When did we end up having it? Was it a traditional Chinese or Western-style ceremony?" Chin Songcheng knew he probably wouldn't get a reply, but he sent it anyway, just in case she happened to respond on a whim. I saw the message and laughed bitterly. That so-called wedding, I never got to see it, not even by the time I died. Chin Songcheng kept waiting to dream about his wedding with Lin Ziyi, hoping to finally figure out what really happened. A month passed, then two. Before he knew it, a whole year had gone by, yet Chin Songcheng still hadn't had the dream. After a moment's thought, Chin Songcheng figured he probably wouldn't have the dream until the actual day the event occurred. In the dream, after his grandmother passed away, he and Lin Ziyi agreed to get their marriage license first and postpone the wedding. It made sense they didn't hold the ceremony that first year. Chin Songcheng waited for the time to come when he and Lin Ziyi would finally have their wedding. Before dreams could even take shape, parental pressure to marry arrived first. The moment his mother brought up marriage, Chin Songcheng immediately thought of Lin Ziyi. It was at that very moment Chin Songcheng suddenly conceived the idea of marrying Lin Ziyi. Some thoughts, once formed, become impossible to rein in. On a perfectly ordinary day, I received a sunset photo from Chin Songcheng along with a message. "The sunset here is beautiful. How about where you are?" After that, Chin Songcheng started messaging me every day. Sunrises, sunsets, roadside flowers, cats and dogs, and snippets of his daily life. No idea what's gotten into him. I haven't replied to a single message. Seeing the string of messages he sent, I couldn't help but recall my past life. I used to share my daily life with him like this every day too, but he never replied. After sending messages for a while, on yet another ordinary day, I saw Chin Songcheng waiting at the entrance of my neighborhood as I returned home. Chin Songcheng was sitting in his car, called out my name when he saw me, then got out and walked toward me. I asked, "What are you doing here?" Chin Songcheng said earnestly, "I want to pursue you." I was stunned for a long moment before blurting out, "Are you out of your mind?" "I'm serious. I don't just want to date you. I want to marry you, just like in my dreams." That last line, like a dream, felt like a curse. I'd have to be out of my mind to go down that road again. We're not possible. Why not? We've been married once. What's stopping us from doing it again? No, I will never marry you again. I didn't want to discuss this with Chin Songcheng, so I made my refusal clear and walked into the residential complex. Chin Songcheng caught up with me, and I snapped, "Stop following me." He didn't follow me any further, I thought my firm stance would make him leave me alone for good, but the very next day, he moved in next door and started waiting by my doorstep every morning to walk out together, then promptly asked me to dinner the moment clock hit quitting time. He even had things delivered to my office daily, flowers, bubble tea, lunch, you name it. No matter how many times I told him to stop, he clung to me like stubborn gum I couldn't shake off. To make Chin Songcheng give up, I went to talk to him myself after he got home. Chin Songcheng opened the door and smiled when he saw me. "What brings you here?" he asked cheerfully. I got straight to the point. "I suppose you haven't dreamed about us having a makeup wedding yet," Chin Songcheng nodded. "But according to the timeline in the dream, it's only been a little over a year since Grandma passed away. It makes sense that we haven't held the wedding yet." I shattered his illusion. "We never actually had a wedding in the first place." Chin Songcheng's Adam's apple bobbed. "Why? I brought up having a belated wedding ceremony after 3 years of marriage, but you said you were swamped with work and didn't have time. You insisted that since we'd already been married for 2 years, having a ceremony didn't really matter." Not long after that, Yuting came back. You kept getting tangled up with her, and we started arguing about her more and more. Our relationship became really strained. In our 4th year of marriage, after yet another fight about Yuting, I asked for a divorce. Just a few months after the divorce, I was in a car accident. Yuting was there too. You saved her. But when I grabbed your ankle begging for help, you shook me off and carried Yuting away. Then I died, and when I woke up, I was back to the day I first arrived at the Chin family's house. Chin Songcheng turned pale. What I said clearly took him by surprise. I didn't care what he was thinking, and I continued, "I'm telling you this so you know I will never marry you, so please, don't bother me again." After saying that, I went back home. The next morning, I woke up to a message from Chin Songcheng. "I'm sorry for the trouble I've caused you lately, it won't happen again." Reading that message lifted my spirits, and for the first time, the morning time clock saw me smiling. After hearing what Lin Ziyi said, Chin Songcheng felt both heartbroken for her experience and began to question whether he had really been such a jerk. But he finally realized that he and Lin Ziyi were never meant to be, so he moved out the very next day and stopped sending her messages or gifts. Years flew by in the blink of an eye. And Chin Songcheng once again dreamed of events from his past life. To be more precise, it was a memory awakening. He had regained the memories of his previous existence. At first, Chin Songcheng paid little attention to Lin Ziyi, who was staying at his place. He didn't intervene until he saw her being cornered and beaten in the alley. She lay curled on the ground, taking kick after kick without uttering a single sound. For the first time, he felt a pang of compassion for her. He stopped her attackers and took her to the hospital. Later, he arranged for his family's bodyguard to teach her self-defense so she could protect herself. He always checked on her school life, worried she might be bullied again. Later, on her deathbed, his grandmother asked him to marry her, and he agreed to ease her mind. But as they spent day after day together, he grew fond of her. Even before she mentioned a proper wedding, he was already planning one, complete with a proposal. He wanted to give her everything they'd skipped before. I pretended to be busy when she brought it up just to surprise her. Whether we do it or not doesn't really matter. Yuting stood up for her on the day she got hit and even gave He Chanshan a piece of her mind. So when Yuting came back, he introduced her to some connections as a way of saying thanks. When Yuting found out he was planning a proposal and wedding, she offered to help out. He figured that since Yuting was also a woman, she'd have a better understanding of what women want, so he didn't turn down her offer to help. The day Yuting used his phone to make a call was because the proposal and wedding plans were all set, and everyone was out celebrating. He had too much to drink, so when Yuting suggested calling her to come pick him up, he handed over his phone. Just before she walked in, Yuting tripped over someone's leg while reaching for a drink and fell against him. He was about to push her away when she showed up. She wouldn't listen to any explanation and even started yelling at Yuting. Yuting had helped her before, yet she acted this way. He got a bit angry and snapped at her. Upset and having had some drinks, he went straight to bed to avoid an argument, planning to talk to her the next day, but she wouldn't let it go. In his anger, he started rambling and said those hurtful things. She left the room. They both needed to cool off, so he didn't go after her. The very next day, she handed him divorce papers the moment they met. While he was juggling work and planning the proposal and wedding, she kept picking fights over baseless accusations. He tried reasoning with her gently to save the marriage, but she showed no sign of backing down. In a fit of anger, he signed the divorce agreement. The moment he signed Regret washed over him. He couldn't stop thinking about how to make things right, but Yuting confessed she felt trapped and unhappy in the marriage, suggesting that letting go might be for the best. He took her at her word and made plans to start fresh with her after the divorce was finalized. Yet after the divorce, she blocked him on every platform, cutting off all contact. He couldn't reach her. And asking friends for help didn't work either. On the day of her car accident, he happened to pass by and went to help. With her face covered in hair and blood, he didn't recognize her. She was badly injured, and he didn't dare move her recklessly, so he went to help others first. He never expected that the person in the other car would be Yuting. As he carried Yuting away from the wreckage, she grabbed his ankle and gasped out a desperate cry for help. He shook off her grip, rushed toward the newly arrived ambulance with Yuting in his arms, and urgently told the medics there was a critically injured person needing immediate attention. She was loaded into the ambulance, but he assumed she was a stranger and didn't pay further attention. Soon after, the hospital managed to contact him and asked him to come retrieve the body. Even though they were divorced, she was an orphan, and he, as her ex-husband, was essentially her only family. He went to claim her body and arranged her funeral. From her phone, he discovered the lies Yuting had fabricated, finally understanding Yuting's intentions and realizing the injustice she had long endured. But it was all too late. After waking up, Qin Songqing called Lin Ziyi to explain everything, then asked, "Is there still a chance for us?" After hearing Qin Songqing's explanation, I completely let go of the matters from our past life. He wasn't wrong, and I wasn't wrong. Yet we were both at fault. My mistake was not fully trusting him. His mistake was trying to surprise me but asking the wrong person. Finally I said, "I really like my life as it is and don't want to change anything for now." Story 2. After spending a lifetime with my husband, I was reborn in my college days. I excitedly ran to find my husband and saw him confessing his feelings to the campus beauty under the dormitory building. "Missing you would be the biggest regret of my life." 1. Gu Qiao, you've been standing in front of the mirror for at least half an hour. What are you doing? Of course, admiring my beauty. I was mesmerized by the reflection in the mirror, a slim and slender girl, with a tiny waist, long legs, fair skin, and not a single wrinkle on her face. Is this really what I looked like at 18? Youth is truly wonderful. Stop being vain. It's bustling downstairs. Jiang Chen is holding flowers at the door, waiting to confess to someone. My roommate, Dai Na, came in with a cup of milk tea, excitedly sharing the gossip with me. Jiang Chen. I slapped my forehead, having been so caught up in admiring my youthful and beautiful body that I had completely forgotten about my husband. I casually threw on a coat and hurriedly ran towards the dormitory building downstairs. Jiang Chen must have been reborn with me, with a younger body. His mindset is younger too. He even knows to bring me flowers now. The last time he gave me flowers was the year our child was born. The only time he ever gave me flowers. Thanking me for continuing his family's lineage, thinking of our child. I touched my flat stomach. Ah, I even have abs now. My dear child, let mom enjoy a few more years of happiness. Let me savor a few more years of youth before I bring you into the world. Jiang Chen and I were college sweethearts, making our way from university to the marriage altar. We argued, broke up, and made up. We've been poor, strived together, became wealthy, and even went bankrupt during our poorest days. We lived in a basement, surviving on plain water and white buns. And when cravings hit hard, we splurged on a packet of pickles. When we were wealthy, we bought a villa and Jiang Chen even bought apartments for his parents and siblings. We supported each other through thick and thin, hand in hand, completing a lifetime together. In our past life, we were so busy starting businesses and making money that by the time we reached old age, we realized we had been too focused on work and hadn't truly lived or seen the world. Given another chance, we would definitely travel more and accomplish all those things we wanted to do but didn't have the time or energy for. 2. Jiang Chen stood at the dormitory entrance holding a bouquet of flowers, likely nervous, his hand resting on his pants with his middle finger continuously picking at the seam. I chuckled. In our graduation year, we started an e-commerce company together. Jiang Chen was introverted and quiet, not good at socializing, and a bit socially anxious. For business, he had to learn to exchange pleasantries with people, a habit he picked up back then. Great, Jiang Chen was reborn with me. Gu Qiao, what are you looking at? My roommate and best friend, Zhou Xiaoxi, poked my arm, also curious to look outside. Just then, Jiang Chen turned his head, sunlight casting on his youthful and handsome face. his eyes shimmering with specks of gold, seeing me. He shyly pressed his lips together into a smile, revealing 2 shallow dimples. Jiang Chen at 18 always made my heart flutter. He approached me with the flowers, just like in our past life, his every step matching a lifetime together. I took a deep breath and opened my arms, ready to embrace my happiness once again. Zhou Xiaoxi, I've liked you for a long time. Missing you would be the biggest regret of my life. Would you give me a chance to be my girlfriend? Zhou Xiaoxi was clearly flustered. She blushed, looking around as many onlooking students started to chant, say yes, say yes, say yes. I numbly withdrew my hands, only then realizing that Jiang Chen was passionately gazing at Zhou Xiaoxi. His gaze was straightforward and fervent. Amidst the bustling world, his eyes only saw Zhou Xiaoxi. I stood beside Zhou Xiaoxi, feeling like a mere backdrop, unnoticed by Jiang Chen, who didn't even spare a glance in my direction. So, Jiang Chen, who has been my husband for a lifetime, has he always harbored feelings for Zhou Xiaoxi instead? I staggered back 2 steps as memories from a previous life flooded my mind. It had rained lightly that day as I rushed out to collect a parcel. Zhou Xiaoxi mentioned she had left my umbrella at the library and insisted on lending me her jacket and hat instead, claiming they were waterproof and would prevent a cold in the chilly weather. Hurriedly I wore her clothes and dashed outside, only to bump into Jiang Chen the moment I exited the dormitory. He grabbed my arm, his head bowed, and confessed, I like you, be my girlfriend. I had been fond of Jiang Chen for a long time, having fallen for him since the start of the school term. The boy I had a secret crush on confessed his feelings in the rain. That was when I began to love rainy days. No wonder. After we got together, Jiang Chen rarely initiated messages or asked me out. I thought he was just reserved and not fond of being overly sentimental. Most importantly, I was completely dazed by this unexpected blessing. Blinded by passionate love, I threw myself wholeheartedly into the relationship. How ironic. Maybe Jiang Chen initially mistook me for Zhou Xiaoxi. That's why, after his rebirth, his first priority was to start over with Zhou Xiaoxi. A lifetime together couldn't outweigh the perpetual beloved in his heart. I took a step back, then another. Jiang Chen anxiously awaited Zhou Xiaoxi's response, his forehead beaded with sweat from excitement, one drop trickling over his eyebrow into his eye. Yet, he kept his eyes wide open, fearful of missing her reply by even a blink. My heart felt as heavy as if it were weighed down, as though I had swallowed a chunk of ice in the bitter cold. How rare. Even when we went to meet important clients in our previous life, Jiang Chen was never this nervous. When I was giving birth, his parents insisted on a natural delivery, arguing that a cesarean wasn't good for the child, but our baby was well nourished, and the doctor estimated he weighed over 7 pounds, recommending a cesarean. Pale-faced, I lay on the bed clutching Jiang Chen's hand, asking if he was nervous about the birth. He casually remarked, modern medicine is advanced. Don't worry unnecessarily. And then he went off to play video games. I was furious then, yet after the surgery, he brought me a bouquet of flowers. That's just how Jiang Chen is, a slap followed by a sweetener. He wasn't nervous about childbirth, meeting clients, our son's college entrance exams, nor about getting a daughter-in-law. But this confession, across 2 lifetimes, why was he so nervous now? I looked intently at Jiang Chen, the man I had loved all my life. His features overlapped with the shadows in my memory, shattering the beautiful dream I had lived. Stay together, stay together, stay together. The world around was noisy and chaotic, the sounds seemed distant and then close, and the figures before me overlapped. I pinched my palm. I felt like I might be suffering from heatstroke. I need to think it over. Facing the jeering crowd, Zhou Xiaoxi looked panicked. She glanced around the crowd and finally cast a pleading look at me. At that moment, Jiang Chen finally noticed me. He walked over briskly with flowers and firmly squeezed my arm. Gu Qiao, this is wonderful. Are you here too? You're the closest to Zhou Xiaoxi. Please, persuade her for me. I've really liked her for many years now. I promise I'll treat her very well in the future. Please, help me. 2. The dazzling sunset bathed Jiang Chen in a soft golden light. I looked at his partly illuminated face against the light, and my memories took me back to the year we started our business. By the time we finished work at the company, it was already midnight, and there were no buses or subways running. Taking a taxi was out of the question since it was too expensive, and our home was quite far from the company. A taxi fare of over 30 yuan could cover both of our daily expenses. The winter streets were so cold that our toes numbed, but as I walked with Jiang Chen, breathing out misty air, I felt an unstoppable joy in my heart. Life was tough, but I was not alone. Having the person I love by my side made the future look promising and bright. Jiangchen rarely took the initiative, but this time he held my hand and thanked me for being willing to endure hardships with him, promising a better life ahead. He said he loved me. 3. This is between the two of us. Why put Gu Qiao in a difficult position? Zhou Xiaoxi's crisp voice rang out as she walked up and took my arm. Lifting her chin gracefully towards Jiangchen, I need to think about this. You go back first. Let's go, Gu Qiao. Let's go have dinner. After saying this, Zhou Xiaoxi, leaving a dejected Jiangchen behind, pulled me away. 4. Come back to reality. Zhou Xiaoxi waved her hand in front of me. Your noodles are going to get mushy. You look so preoccupied. What's on your mind? Chewing on my chopsticks, my emotions were mixed. Don't you accept Jiangchen? I asked cautiously, then felt foolish. Having been reincarnated back to our college days, Jiangchen and I were both free. Legally, he owed me nothing, and the promises of the past life were just that, past. Now, we were neither spouses nor lovers. He indeed had every right to pursue happiness anew. Hey, just because he says something, doesn't mean I have to agree. What would that make me? Men, they only treasure what they can't easily have. Let's leave him hanging for a couple of days and see how he behaves. Zhou Xiaoxi spoke nonchalantly, used to the attention from many boys. Jiangchen, despite his graceful looks, was not exactly a world-class handsome guy. I took a sip of my noodle soup, trying to suppress the sour feeling inside, and couldn't help but feel a bit envious of Zhou Xiaoxi. Zhou Xiaoxi's parents were well off. Her father owned a company, and her mother was a civil servant. Unlike Jiangchen and me, who came from the countryside, Zhou Xiaoxi had the confidence and pride of a city kid. What I longed for but couldn't have, to her, was just commonplace. 5. Jiangchen wasn't brought down by Zhou Xiaoxi's rejection. Having lived a lifetime once already, his mental resilience had greatly improved. He started showing up daily at our dormitory, diligently bringing Zhou Xiaoxi various gifts, flowers, milk tea, snacks, fried chicken. Our dorm mates, having eaten his gifts, began to tease Zhou Xiaoxi. From initial sadness and anger to resignation, my mindset also quickly stabilized. Jiangchen hadn't even considered that I might have reincarnated too, looking at me as if I were a stranger, and even blocked me to avoid misunderstanding with Zhou Xiaoxi. 60 years of shared life. Wasn't there any familial love if not romantic love? Only then did I realize how terribly wrong I had been. I had loved Jiangchen all my life, whereas he, perhaps, had just endured me. In our youth, we were together because of a misunderstanding. He was too shy to break up with me because of his thin skin. As time went on, I ended up helping him so much that I even paid for my own dowry when we got married. He felt indebted and found it even harder to speak up. For me, this long life was like a beautiful fairy tale. For Jiangchen, however, it was a suffocating cage. He didn't love me, but he couldn't leave me either. Now that he has finally escaped from the cage, why would he want to get involved with me again? Xiaoxi, are you really not considering accepting Jiangchen? Dana asked, nibbling on the braised chicken feet Jiangchen bought, her eyes twinkling with the light of gossip. Zhou Xiaoxi was applying a face mask and spoke in a hushed voice as if squeezing the words from her throat. What are you talking about? The Red Army's long march was still 25,000 miles long, of course. I must thoroughly test a man. I was deeply engrossed in my book when a sudden thought struck me. Where does Jiangchen get all this money to buy so many things? Oh, damn, it suddenly dawned on me. Our class has an annual high-value scholarship, which awards the recipient 10,000 yuan each year, and I've been letting Jiangchen have that spot. Both of us came from poor rural families, but my grades have always been better than Jiangchen's, and my family's financial situation was even worse. The counselor even specifically told me that I was the most suitable candidate for the scholarship, but thinking of Jiangchen's perpetually faded genes, I decided to give the spot to him and chose to do part-time jobs to support myself. Now, I just want to slap myself hard. The scholarship money was just distributed, and there Jiangchen was, flush with money, and he's using it all to chase after Zhou Xiaoxi. Fuming, I stood up abruptly and snatched the box of chicken feet from Dana's hands. I want some too. Dana jumped in surprise. What's the matter? Are you that hungry? Eat, eat, eat. It's all yours. Oh, right, Gu Qiao. Did you hear about the new Alumni Association scholarship the school is offering? I smacked my thigh as I gnawed on the chicken feet, realizing I had forgotten about it. There's a senior from our department who graduated 2 years ago, Pei Ning. who had a successful startup. I heard he raised several $100 million just in funding. He recently collaborated with our school on a project and on a whim decided to sponsor 2 students from our department. One spot went to someone from the class next door, and the other, naturally, went to Jian Chen. Because I gave it to him. Unlike the school's scholarship, the one from Peining covers all university tuition and living expenses for 4 years, which later became Jian Chen's startup capital after graduation. I spat out the chicken feet and rushed to the counselor's office. In my past life, I had told the counselor I was withdrawing from the competition, but this time, I couldn't miss the opportunity. Breathless, I reached the counselor's office and leaned against the door, gasping for air. Inside, a tall figure stood with his back to me, indistinct against the light, but his voice was a familiar, cold tone. "Teacher, Gu Qiao has already given up this spot, please give it to me." "Wait," I panted, wishing my glare could kill Jiang Chen. "Wait a minute, teacher. I want to compete for this spot again." The counselor brightened up upon seeing me. "Oh, Gu Qiao, you've finally come around. It's right for you to focus more on your studies instead of working all the time. With your talent, you should really be concentrating on your academics." Jiang Chen looked at me incredulously, clearly surprised by my behavior. "Gu Qiao, you've always refused scholarships, haven't you?" Seeing Jiang Chen so close, my heart involuntarily clenched. "Gu Qiao, I really need this money. Could you let me have this opportunity?" Jiang Chen lowered his head and gazed at me intently, her beautiful eyes cast downward, a hint of pleading in her expression. I could never resist Jiang Chen when he looked at me like that. Whenever he made that face, I would have moved heaven and earth for him, even plucking the moon from the sky if he asked. "Gu Qiao, can you help me out, please?" These words felt so familiar. Repeated countless times throughout our long yet fleeting lives together. "Gu Qiao, my younger brother is grown up now. He wants to get married, you're his sister-in-law. You wouldn't want to see him stay single forever, right? Gu Qiao, my sister is getting married, but her fiancé isn't well off. Could you buy her a house so she can hold her head high at her in-laws' place?" "Gu Qiao, our parents are getting old. I want to move them in with us so we can take better care of them." Amidst constant praises of Gu Qiao, "You're the best," I kept giving in, kept compromising, until I became the weakest member of the Gu family. Due to overworking and pushing myself too hard, I ended up with gastritis, herniated lumbar discs, cervical spondylosis, and shoulder periarthritis. "Jiang Chen, you shouldn't say things like that. Gu Qiao has given up her scholarship opportunities for you these past 2 years. Her grades and overall evaluations are much higher than yours. And her family isn't well off. Her parents didn't want her to continue her education, preferring her to get married instead. She's been working part-time to pay for her own tuition and living expenses. As a fellow student, you should think beyond just yourself. Gu Qiao is more deserving of this scholarship in every respect." Our teacher glared at me disapprovingly, trying to silence me with a stern look. In my past life, I married Jiang Chen in his rural hometown. Our teacher took a day-long train ride just to give me a generous red envelope at the wedding. On that day, she held my hand, her eyes brimming with tears. "Gu Qiao, you need to learn to love yourself." It took me 2 lifetimes to truly understand the meaning of her words. In my previous life, Jiang Chen was the brightest light in my dim world, my salvation and my hope. In this life, I am determined to be my own light. Having left the office deep in thought, Jiang Chen looked at me again and again. He scrutinized me with furrowed brows, his gaze inquisitive and frankly quite rude. Unable to tolerate it any longer, I turned around. "What are you looking at? Why did you suddenly change your mind?" Jiang Chen asked tentatively. I found it somewhat amusing. "Since you so easily dismissed our past life and decided to start over, naturally I couldn't keep indulging and helping you as before, because I'm poor." Jiang Chen blinked, his expression somewhat bewildered. I never complained about my hardships in front of him. No matter the situation, I always managed to smile and insisted I was fine. Clearly, my behavior was vastly different from before my rebirth. "Xiaobao, you're here. Where's Xiaobao?" I looked around, meeting Jiang Chen's expectant gaze. "Gu Qiao, you've been reborn too." I neither confirmed nor denied it, simply giving Jiang Chen a deep look before striding forward. "Hey, Gu Qiao, why are you upset? Since that's the case, let's just lay everything out on the table." My demeanor frustrated Jiang Chen, as I had pampered him all his life and he was unaccustomed to such coldness from me. Jiang Chen and I sat on a bench by the school lake, the sunlight casting a fine layer of gold leaf upon the water's surface. The scenery was beautiful, but I had no heart to appreciate it. because Jiangchen said that the happiness of my last life was something I had stolen. I've been tolerant of you for a lifetime and have paid for my own mistakes. What's wrong with pursuing the person I love in this lifetime? Jiangchen was clearly agitated as he glared at me, his neck stiff with anger, as if I were the root cause of all his misfortunes. Haha. I laughed out of frustration. Jiangchen, if you didn't like me, why didn't you say so from the beginning? You didn't say it in college, you didn't mention it when we were about to get married, you never brought it up in all these years. I didn't force you at gunpoint to marry me, did I? Jiangchen grew even angrier. It's all your fault. Right after I confessed, you immediately told your roommate, and Dana, with her big mouth, announced it in the class group, saying I should treat everyone. If I broke up with you right then, what would our classmates think? After we got together, everyone kept saying how good you were to me, as if I'd be branded a heartbreaker the moment I left you. Gu Qiao, it's all because of you. You put me on this moral high ground, coercing me for a lifetime with conscience and morality. In my memory, Jiangchen was handsome, his pale skin and distinct features making him shine brightly. He was the most attractive person I'd ever seen, whether as a youth, an adult, or an old man. Squinting, I scrutinized Jiangchen's face inch by inch and for the first time noticed that his skin, although fair, was slightly dull, and he had 2 pimples on his chin. His nose was high but a bit too broad, making him look less refined. The shining Jiangchen was, after all, just a slightly more delicate-looking ordinary student. His glow came from my love, not from himself. Since that's the case, let's pretend we never knew each other in this life and never contact each other again. Goodbye. I stood up, turned, and walked away, feeling something inside me collapse into ruins. I came from a rural family that greatly favored boys over girls, where my parents saw having a daughter as a significant loss, trying everything to recoup their investment through me. In middle school, my parents repeatedly said that as soon as I graduated from junior high, I would start working. To escape the fate of working in a factory, I studied hard and eventually topped my city's exams to get into a prestigious school. The school waived all my fees and even promised me a scholarship. The village chief and local leaders also visited several times, urging my parents to let me continue my education. After high school, my parents agreed I could attend university, but I had to send home 2,000 yuan every month. I agreed without hesitation and then found an excuse to transfer my household registration to the school. After moving my registration, I blocked all contact with my parents. They had never traveled far in their lives and, due to their lack of concern, didn't know my specific major or class. With the help of the village chief, I finally freed myself from my parents during my university years. I became someone without a family, so I desperately longed for a home, for love, in my past life. I clung to Jiangchen like a drowning person grasping at a log. I so yearned for a home that even when Jiangchen was not always kind to me, it was still 100 times better than my parents. In that rural home, I didn't even have a room of my own. My bed was in a corner of the living room, devoid of privacy and dignity. I saw Jiangchen as my salvation. Any kindness he showed, I was ready to repay with my life. Now I realize that I shouldn't seek love from others, I should learn to love myself. No one but yourself can be your savior. I ran forward with large strides, leaving all my past and darkness behind. I eventually received the scholarship. My counselor mentioned that Pei Ning, the alumnus who provided the scholarship, wanted to meet me. Is it him? It turned out to be him. I stared in astonishment at the familiar man in front of me. He was one of our company's investors who injected funds to save us after our company went bankrupt. After I married Jiangchen, he disappeared from our world. I didn't expect to see him again and couldn't help feeling excited. Hello, Senior Pei. Thank you, Senior Pei. My serious bow made him laugh. Please, have a seat. Meeting Pei Ning was delightful, and we even exchanged contact information. He mentioned that I could reach out to him if I faced any difficulties in life. Elated, I walked back to my dorm. Believing in repaying kindness with even greater kindness, Pei Ning had helped me tremendously in his previous life, and he remains a benefactor in this life. I've spent a lifetime in e-commerce, and now, as it's just beginning to bloom, Pei Ning's company hasn't yet set up an e-commerce team. I could help him with this, considering it a repayment of his kindness. Feeling cheerful, I generously bought a bag of fruits and snacks to treat my roommates. Upon returning to the dorm, I found 2 large bags of KFC on Zhou Xiaoxi's desk. Seeing me, Zhou Xiaoxi handed me a burger and 2 egg tarts. Here. You haven't had lunch, right? Eat them while they're hot. Dana teased from the side. Go on, eat. This is the Joy Burger. I blinked in confusion. What burger? Oh, Xiaoxi is now with Jiang Chen. Zhou Xiaoxi rolled her eyes at Dana. Eat up, even a chicken leg can't shut you up. I was surprised to look at Zhou Xiaoxi. She was with Jiang Chen. Zhou Xiaoxi glanced at me awkwardly, living in the same dorm, virtually spending 24 hours together. I could hide my feelings for Jiang Chen from others but not from Zhou Xiaoxi, who slept across from me. The two hardest things to hide in this world are coughing and love. Zhou Xiaoxi adjusted her hair and gave an awkward smile. Gu Qiao, you don't mind, right? I gave a genuinely sincere smile. What are you talking about? Of course, I don't mind, we're friends, that's what matters. The past is dark and irretrievable, but the road ahead is bright and brilliant. Jiang Chen is just part of the past now. I only want to focus on studying hard and earning money. Dinner was with the past. Jiang Chen invited our entire dorm to have hot pot. At the dinner table, he was very attentive to Zhou Xiaoxi, pulling out chairs, pouring water, peeling shrimp. Zhou Xiaoxi was touched but also a bit embarrassed. She kept glancing at me, worried I might be upset, but I just kept my head down. Busily indulging in the beef and tripe, when Jiang Chen and I were together, we were both poor students. I was reluctant to spend his money, and our dates were always inexpensive fast food, splitting the bill afterward. It wasn't often that Jiang Chen could treat. I had to eat more, maybe even make up for what I missed in a past life. I used to think sincerity could be reciprocated with sincerity, but now I know. Human hearts can't be traded for loyalty. When we settled the bill for dinner, Jiang Chen paid over 500 yuan. Normally, that would have been half a month's living expenses for him. We might be well off in our later years, accustomed to spending freely, but it's hard to adjust all at once. I wonder what he'll do when he realizes how hard money is to come by now. Everyone thinks being reborn means you know the secret to wealth, but here we are, second-year college students, unable to scrounge up 1,000 yuan between us. I remember some stocks that multiplied in value, though, but in the short term, there really hasn't been much change. Buying a house seems even more unattainable. We barely have enough to cover meals. Where would the money for a house come from? Jiang Chen's family situation is pretty similar to mine. The only difference is that he's a boy and the eldest son, so his parents spend all their money on him. That's why he is in a better position than I am. I started spending every day at the library, diligently working on marketing plans. Pei Ming owns a small smart home appliance company, which at the moment only sells in major shopping malls. As an experienced e-commerce professional, I know that time is opportunity. The sooner you enter the market, the bigger the piece of the pie you can secure. In my previous life, when Jiang Chen and I ran a company together, I was in charge of operations and sales, and he handled after-sales service and factory coordination, so planning was second nature to me, and within a few days, I had prepared a detailed business plan. Did you do this? Pei Ming asked, relaxed, sitting back in his chair, flipping through my business plan page by page, staring at his handsome face. I couldn't help but feel a bit nervous. In my past life, although I had achieved some success through relentless effort, I was only slightly better off than the average person. But Pei Ming, he was the real tycoon. If I could gain his recognition and join forces with him, my achievements in this life could reach new heights. Not bad. Our team is already preparing to set up an e-commerce department. Come intern at my company when you're free from classes. Really, thank you, senior. I clenched my fists, my eyes sparkling as I looked at Pei Ming. All the hard work recently had finally paid off. Hello, here are your cheesecake, vanilla milk, and strawberry waffle. This was the only coffee shop near our school gate. The prices were steep, and I had only been here once with Zhou Xiaoxi. I watched in astonishment as the waiter brought a table full of cakes. Pei Ming straightened the crease on his sleeve and stood up, saying, all right, I have to leave now. Little girl, eat up, you're too thin. Pei Ming left, taking my carefully crafted business plan with him. I settled into the chair, slowly enjoying the cake. The cheesecake was very soft, with a rich creamy taste, so sweet. What did you say? Jiang Chen asked you for money. Dana stared at Zhou Xiaoxi in disbelief, and I was also surprised. After my initial shock, I somewhat understood. This behavior of Jiang Chen's was something I had indulged in the past. I worked hard at my jobs while he spent his time in the library after class. As a result, I ended up being more financially stable than him and often gave him money to help out. He was too proud to ask, so I just treated it as a loan. Jiang Chen and I were each other's first love, and we never got involved with anyone else after getting together. Perhaps Jiang Chen thought that borrowing money from a partner in such a close relationship was normal. like borrowing money from a good buddy. How much did he ask for? How could he bring himself to ask? How long have you two been together? Dana grabbed Zhou Xiaoxi's arm. Her face filled with incredulity. It's not much, just 1,000 yuan. He said he invested his scholarship money in stocks. Jiang Chen had never dealt with stocks in college. If I remember correctly, it wasn't until we were in our 40s and more financially settled that he started exploring investment and personal finance. Does he really remember the stock market fluctuations from his college days? It's not a small amount. 1,000 yuan is nearly a month's living expenses. And you only think it's not much because you're well off. Zhou Xiaoxi was also somewhat upset. I definitely won't lend it to him. What kind of man asks a woman for money? If he doesn't have money, he shouldn't be dating. Recently, he's been buying me this and that, and now he expects me to foot the bill. But he didn't receive the same warm welcome or opportunities. He was mainly assigned to handle menial tasks such as printing and copying documents. After all, Jiang Chen's expertise was in customer service, which, in the realm of e-commerce, isn't highly technical. I thrived in my internship, seamlessly fitting into the new environment. Pei Ning, the company head, was quite generous with the internship salary and even provided a scholarship, which meant I no longer needed to work part-time to pay for my tuition and living expenses. This allowed me to devote more time to my studies, leading to a busy yet fulfilling life. As for Jiang Chen, although he managed to secure the internship through his counselor's connections, he didn't have the same smooth experience as I did. Jiang Chen didn't visit often because he spent a lot of time dating. However, with his diligent efforts, he managed to reconcile with Zhou Xiaoxi. Jiang Chen treasured this relationship deeply, putting forth immense effort to maintain it. Dating was an activity that cost both money and time. He accompanied Zhou Xiaoxi on shopping trips, movie dates, and celebrated various occasions like birthdays, Christmas, and Valentine's Day. Money was spent like flowing water, and gradually, Jiang Chen began to feel the strain. He tried to take Zhou Xiaoxi to more affordable restaurants, but after just one visit, they ended up arguing. Can you believe how ridiculous Jiang Chen is? I spent 2 hours on makeup, washed my hair, and put on new clothes, only for him to take me to eat spicy hot pot. The place was so greasy, and just sitting there a while left a smell on my clothes and hair. He clearly doesn't respect me. Angrily, Zhou Xiaoxi threw her bag on the table, her eyes red with frustration. I was engrossed in my book when I heard this, and looked up confusedly. What's wrong with eating spicy hot pot on a date? Zhou Xiaoxi marched up to me and pinched my face. Are you silly? Him taking me to eat spicy hot pot shows that he values me as little as a bowl of spicy hot pot. Today it's spicy hot pot, tomorrow it'll be plain boiled water with steamed buns. Besides, if dating means only eating spicy hot pot, why bother dating? Isn't it better to be single? There's absolutely no way I'll lower my standard of living. Zhou Xiaoxi's views on relationships were vastly different from mine and quite jarring to my beliefs. In my mind, dating was about mutual contribution and sharing both good times and bad. What about people who are really poor? How do they manage to date? Zhou Xiaoxi rolled her eyes. If they're that poor, obviously they should focus on making money. Dating costs money and time, and if you can barely afford meals, how can you even think about dating? And if a man truly loves a girl, why would he want her to suffer with him? Seeing my bewildered face, Zhou Xiaoxi pulled up a chair to sit opposite me and began to lecture earnestly. Bu Qiao, don't be foolish. People say the 3 joys of a man's life are promotion, wealth, and the death of his wife. Why would his wife die when he becomes rich? Naturally, it's because he goes looking for someone younger and prettier. Do you think if you suffer with a man all your life, he'll be grateful? He'll only think he's amazing, that he has personal charm. Once he makes money, the first person he'll ditch is you. You've seen him at his worst, so he can't even brag in front of you. Isn't it true? After Jiang Chen became young again, the first thing he did was replace me, his long-suffering wife. I held Zhou Xiaoxi's hand. Keep talking, you're making sense. Back in our previous lives, although we were roommates, we seldom had time to chat. I was always working, rushing from one job to another with my backpack, hustling at the school gate's various shops. When my roommates were still sleeping, I had already left, and by the time I rushed back to the dorm at night, they were ready to sleep. Life continued at its own pace, with Zhou Xiaoxi and Jiang Chen frequently arguing. I, on the other hand, poured all my energy into studying and working. Summer came quickly, and I applied to stay in the dorm as usual. It had been 2 years since I last visited my parents' home. When I got married in my previous life, they demanded a dowry of 300,000 yuan from Jiang Chen, threatening to humiliate him in his village with a loudspeaker if he didn't comply. Although I ended up paying this money myself, my parents' actions made it difficult for me to face Jiang Chen. At that time, Jiang Chen gave me tremendous support. He said my parents were not good to me, but he would always treat me well and give me a true home. I had repaid my parents' kindness in my previous life. In this life, I owed no one. I worked tirelessly, even spending weekends at the company, almost wishing I could sleep there. My colleagues, especially our team leader, came one after another to give me advice. Joe, even though you're young, you need to take care of your health. Are you facing any difficulties in life? Don't worry, just talk to me. If money can solve it, then it's not a problem at all. I couldn't help but laugh and refuse, but this incident even alarmed Pei Ning. Here, take this bonus. I stared at the check for 300,000, dumbfounded. Boss, is the bonus really this much? Our company is full of young people and has a great atmosphere. Everyone calls Pei Ning boss, and after a while, I started to call him that too without thinking. Pei Ning nodded. You're worth that much. At that time, houses in many prefecture-level cities cost only 3,000 to 4,000 per square meter. The bonus Pei Ning gave me was enough to buy a house. The head of the e-commerce department gets a commission on sales. From now on, whatever Old Su gets, you will get too, I gasped. Old Su is our team leader and a computer science graduate from a prestigious university, and I was just going to be a junior after the summer break. The key point was that this commission was really high, at least several million a year. I opened my mouth, wanting to refuse but also reluctant to let go, standing there torn. Pei Ning came over and gently patted the top of my head. I said, you're worth that much. Dizzily walking out of the office, I felt like I had been hit by a pie falling from the sky. Is there a more generous boss than Pei Ning in this world? Definitely not. Hey, Guo, do you want to buy some cryptocurrencies to play around with? I was still lost in the dream of earning millions a year when my shoulder was tapped by our team leader. What kind of coin? Bitcoin. It just came out recently. And it seems pretty interesting. Bitcoin. The same Bitcoin that was a few cents each when it first came out and later rose to $140,000 each. So, I spent the entire 300,000 check on Bitcoin, ending up with 500,000 Bitcoins. Buying too much of this stuff was unnecessary, as it would be hard to sell in large quantities later on. With these 500,000 Bitcoins, what else would I have to worry about in my life? Suddenly, I felt an endless surge of confidence. The future me was already a billionaire. What else was there to fear? Of course, I still needed to work. No matter how rich I might be in the future, I still need to eat and buy a house now. Brother, I finally found you. Brother, I was seriously reviewing an operational report when suddenly a baby's cry broke out in the office. Jiang Taohua, what are you doing here? Jiang Chen stood up awkwardly, his face flushed red. Brother. Something happened at home, brother. Everyone in the office stood up because Jiang Taohua was only 19 years old, and with her baby face, she looked more like a high school student at first glance. A high school student holding a baby was an odd sight no matter how you looked at it. Jiang Chen, who is this? Jiang Chen sternly took Jiang Taohua and headed outside. I remembered that something indeed happened in Jiang Chen's family a year ago. His father had broken his leg while working on a construction site, and it was quite serious. I even helped with some of the medical expenses at the time. But why did Jiang Taohua bring a child with her? Jiang Taohua was a traditional rural girl who dropped out of junior high to work and support her brother's education. After working for several years, she had an early marriage and started a family with a boy from the village. Her family received a dowry of 100,000 yuan from the groom's side, but her own dowry was only 3 quilts, making her life quite difficult after marriage. However, she was extremely proud of her brother, who attended a prestigious university, always talking about him with great admiration. Jiang Chen's younger brother was still in middle school, and with their father's recent accident, the family was facing hard times. Sure enough, Jiang Chen soon came upstairs, looking dejected, and pulled me aside. Gu Qiao, could you lend me 100,000 yuan? I thought I was hearing things. What? Gu Qiao, he's the man you've called dad for so many years. You can't just ignore this, can you? Are you out of your mind? He's your dad. What does that have to do with me? Jiang Chen took a deep breath. Then, please, for old time's sake as classmates, lend me some money. I promise I'll pay you back. Get lost. Jiang Taohua had her hands full with marriage and children. And Jiang's mother had to take care of her youngest son and the elderly at home, so it fell on Jiang Chen to look after their father. He began dozing off frequently at work and his performance was a mess. After the summer break, the company revoked Jiang Chen's internship. Without that easy, high-paying job, Jiang Chen had to start juggling part-time jobs, which caused his grades to plummet. Finally, when everyone in his senior year was busy looking for jobs and internships, Zhou Xiaoxi broke up with him again. Zhou Xiaoxi, come out here. Jiang Chen, red-eyed, stood under the dormitory building, yelling for a long time. Dana and I stood by, helpless. Dana was furious, her chest heaving. Jiang Chen is crazy, why keep harassing her after breaking up? How many days has he been at this? I looked at Jiang Chen with disdain. He had a second chance at life, yet he was messing it up. Poor performance at work, poor grades, and naturally, his love life was failing too. It seemed he thought having a second chance meant he had a magic touch, that the future was bright, but without effort, what future could there be? Just like studying, someone who doesn't work hard couldn't enter a good university even if they repeated high school 10 times. Life is similar. Being reborn just meant understanding the trends of the times better, having a few more opportunities than others, but it didn't mean you could succeed effortlessly. Even if you wanted to make money through real estate, you still had to earn your initial capital, but Jiang Chen had always been laid back. Even in his past life it was me who had to push him forward, which often led to arguments. He liked fishing, painting, and drinking tea. He believed money was never ending and that life needed to be poetic and picturesque. As for me, I always wanted to reach higher and further, to see those vistas I'd never seen before. I'm so mad. Meeting Jiang Chen was really bad luck. Zhou Xiaoxi was so upset she couldn't even eat. You don't know how outrageous Jiang Chen is, always saying we'd get married right after graduation, and he talked about striving together to buy a house here and then moving his parents in. His sister was even scarier. She spent an entire meal talking to me about how I should bear several sons for their family and serve his parents well after we got married. Are they inheriting a throne or what? Talking about sons, please, someone's personal circumstances might improve with effort, but family values are hard to change. I need to run fast or what? Wait to become their servant. I lowered my head in shame. Jiang Chen's family had said similar things to me before, and although it was uncomfortable, I hadn't taken it to heart at the time. After several entanglements, Jiang Chen found himself increasingly the subject of gossip among the girls, seeing that Zhou Xiaoxi still ignored him. He had no choice but to give up. After all, he now needed to earn his own tuition and living expenses. Besides attending classes, he was also busy working part-time. I am so glad that I didn't dive headfirst into the whirlpool of love like Jiang Chen did, neglecting everything else. Pei Ning kept his promise and gave me a bonus at the end of my senior year. I used that money to mortgage a few well-located properties, and my life began to stabilize. Zhou Xiaoxi remained a close friend of mine. She passed the civil service exam, and her family bought her a house in full, allowing her to live a comfortable and relaxed life. Many of our classmates also stayed in this city, and I ended up being the most successful among them. Later, I heard that Jiang Chen was still single, continually going on blind dates. However, without a house or car, and coming from a less affluent family, not many girls with better prospects were interested in him. Zhou Xiaoxi got married to a high school classmate, a childhood sweetheart who was well-matched in social status. After attending the wedding, I encountered Jiang Chen at the hotel entrance. He looked somewhat haggard, his pale chin covered in stubble. Gu Qiao, are you laughing at me inside? I'm just trying to pursue my own love. What's wrong with that? I chuckled lightly. Jiang Chen, I used to think the same way in my past life. With that, I drove off in my 911 without looking back. Under the sunlight, Jiang Chen stood forlornly at the entrance, watching me leave, unable to move for a long time. End of the story. Jiang Chen's side story. 1. I ended up with Zhou Xiaoxi. Finally, I was with the woman I had longed for my whole life. I was thrilled, feeling as if I had been reborn by fate to rectify this regret. It's not that Gu Qiao was bad, there probably isn't a more virtuous and generous woman than her anywhere, but being with her was just too exhausting. When I first got into university, the village chief and others celebrated, sending me off with drums and gongs. Since childhood, I had been the pride of the village, but after being with Gu Qiao, she overshadowed me in everything. She was better than me in studies, in work, in everything. We started a company together, and whenever I went to the factory or discussed business, everyone would say how lucky I was to have such a great wife. They talked about how outstanding, hardworking, and capable Gu Qiao was. How ridiculous. As if I wasn't competent myself, it seemed like I was living off her success. I grew increasingly tired of Gu Qiao. Every day, she was like a whirlwind, managing the company, the kids, and me. She would urge me to handle business, push me to meet performance targets, and even openly criticize my department's failure to meet quarterly goals during company meetings. She was the same with our child, pushing for academic excellence, piano lessons, basketball. It was as if he was training for a decathlon. Being her son was truly miserable. A woman should be gentle, delicate, pure, and kind to be adorable, just like Zhou Xiaoxi, who could act coy, dress up, and sweetly call me brother. I would have given anything to see her happy smile, too. We've been together for half a month now. I began to feel that something was off. Why doesn't Zhou Xiaoxi ever pay for anything? It wouldn't matter if I had money, but I'm just a student right now, even though I just received a scholarship. That's my living expenses for the year. When I was with Gu Qiao before, we always split the bill. Gu Qiao always said that men and women are equal now. Girls also work, earn money, and attend university, so it shouldn't always be the boys who pay. I found her point very reasonable. It's the 21st century, after all. I don't mind paying a bit more, but Zhou Xiaoxi should at least contribute sometimes, right? Moreover, she spends so much. One day it's hot pot, the next it's Western food, and then Japanese cuisine the day after. She orders a table full of dishes, takes a few bites of each, and then says she's full. In the end, I reluctantly finish everything because I hate to see food go to waste. I've hinted a few times that Zhou Xiaoxi should pick up the tab, but she just plays dumb. I have no choice but to pay for it all myself. Soon, my money was all spent by Zhou Xiaoxi. When I asked her to lend me money, she even suggested breaking up. I'm sure Gu Qiao must have said something. I know she still loves me, but I've had enough of that life and don't want to rekindle anything with her. It's just terrifying how jealous a woman can be. Is it really impossible for a man to borrow money from a woman? I'm feeling confused. In my previous life, Gu Qiao used to give me money during my toughest times, patting her chest after and saying, "Don't be embarrassed, I'm lending this to you." Although I never had the chance to pay her back, once we became a family, it didn't seem necessary. I opened my phone to see Gu Qiao's photos, but it was filled with pictures of Zhou Xiaoxi. I miss Gu Qiao a bit. During our internship at the same company, seeing Gu Qiao so vibrant and energetic every day stirred a mix of complex emotions in me, even some resentment. She used to say how much she loved me, and now she seems to be living happily without me. I started to deliberately target Gu Qiao, making ambiguous and odd comments. From initially getting angry, Gu Qiao began to ignore me. I panicked. Indifference, not hate, is the opposite of love. Gu Qiao has started to disregard me. She gets along well with her colleagues, and many have even started introducing potential partners to her. As an intern, she became the team leader's favorite. Even Pei Ning couldn't help but take frequent glances at her, and for the first time, I realized that Gu Qiao is truly a remarkable person. Zhou Xiaoxi is too clingy, and it's starting to annoy me. Doesn't she have her own things to do? And every time she reaches out, it's basically to make me pay. I'm growing increasingly intolerant of her, and we've started to argue frequently. Finally, Zhou Xiaoxi and I broke up again, and this time, it seems beyond repair. I stood outside her dormitory building, calling her name every day, but I wasn't really clinging to her. It's just that I abandoned Gu Qiao to pursue Zhou Xiaoxi, and if I can't make it work with Zhou Xiaoxi, my life would be the biggest joke. For Zhou Xiaoxi, I gave up my studies, my internship, and Gu Qiao. I'm feeling lost. Even though I supposedly had the advantage of a rebirth, why does my current life seem worse than my previous one? All the money I invested in the stock market is gone. Those so-called future blue-chip stocks turned out to be disastrous investments for me. Keeping them might bring profits eventually, but that doesn't solve my immediate crisis. I've started working every day, devoting all my time to part-time jobs. Did Gu Qiao also struggle this much in her past life? Why was she able to maintain good grades while working? I find myself missing Gu Qiao more and more. I heard she got promoted, bought a house, and is now the most favored person around Pei Ning. My parents keep urging me to get married, and my colleagues occasionally try to set me up on blind dates. I don't want to get married or go on these blind dates. These girls, so full of themselves and utterly ordinary, have the audacity to judge me harshly. To them, Being born in the countryside and having a sibling are flaws, it's laughable, they don't even come close to matching even a toe of Gu Qiao. What right do they have to look down on me? I've started to pour all my energy into my work, and I've gradually come to realize how much Gu Qiao from my past life really helped me. It turns out, she didn't rely on me all her life, instead, she protected me for a lifetime. I heard Zhou Xiaoxi is getting married, and I was thrilled. She must come if Zhou gets married, right? Sure enough, I saw Gu Qiao, dressed in a tailor-made suit, looking fresh and sharp, the epitome of a powerful woman. She was so dazzling, shining brighter than the sun hanging high in the sky. I didn't want to appear weak in front of her, so I casually started a topic. Gu Qiao said that in her past life, she too was wholeheartedly pursuing her love. I pretended to look at her nonchalantly, but my heart felt like it was being tightly squeezed. The pain making it hard to breathe. In the end, I lost my moon, and, the day after I accepted the confession from the man of my dreams, I found myself transported 10 years into the future. Upon opening my eyes, a child with big, grape-like eyes timidly called me Mom. Later, I found our wedding photo in a dusty storage room. To my surprise, the groom in the photo wasn't the man of my dreams, but him. I woke up and found myself 10 years into the future, lying in an unfamiliar bed. As I lay there, bewildered and unsure of what to do, suddenly a small figure darted into the room. I immediately pretended to be asleep, lying still on the spot. Footsteps approached slowly, and then a soft little hand touched my forehead. The child's young voice babbled on about recent meals and playtimes. While I was trying to figure out my relationship with this child, his next words shocked me into opening my eyes. He said, "Mom, you've been sick for several days now. Why aren't you waking up? You might not like the soup, but I miss you so much. Please wake up, Mom, Mom." This child was calling me Mom. I instantly opened my eyes wide. At the bedside, a child with big eyes and a small mouth looked at me in terror. Before I could say anything, the child scurried away. Oh my God, to think that just last night I had accepted a confession from my crush, and now to wake up to a child this grown, too. After the child ran off, I immediately picked up my phone and called my old friend Jining. I had no idea what I had been through over these 10 years. My phone was depressingly empty of information. Even former friends had disappeared from my contacts. After several rings, Jining finally answered. "What do you want?" Her voice was colder than I'd ever heard. I scratched my face, her aloofness leaving me at a loss for words. Seeing that I wasn't speaking, Jining became impatient. "Yaoanan, why aren't you talking? Didn't you say you'd never contact me again?" Wow, what on earth did I do in these 10 years? I thought for a moment and then said, "Ning Ning, I know you're cold, but let's skip that for now. I just want to ask, who is my husband?" That was my most pressing concern. Jining paused for a moment, then said, "Yaoanan, did you forget to take your medication today?" Jining has learned to insult people indirectly over the years. I'm serious. Did you forget your medication? Never mind, just wait at home. I'm in line for a nucleic acid test. I'll come to you later. Jining's tone was quite serious. Maybe I didn't time travel. Maybe I'm ill. And what's this nucleic acid test that requires queuing? 3. Just as I put down the phone, a nanny-looking lady knocked on my door, cautiously asking if I was feeling better and if I wanted something to eat. It seemed my unseen husband was quite wealthy. I nodded, and soon a series of exquisite dishes were laid before me. I never imagined that 10 years later, I would be living the life I'd always dreamed of. I tentatively inquired about my husband. The lady looked surprised and only mentioned that my husband was on a business trip and wouldn't be back until next month. That was good news. By the time he returned, I would probably have adjusted to the situation. I picked up my chopsticks and started to indulge, and to be honest, it was all food I loved. Suddenly, I caught a glimpse of the child peeking through the door, thinking this might be my son. My eyes lit up, and I beckoned. "Hey kid, come here." He flinched, then approached the bedside with a timid expression. Why did this child seem a bit afraid of me? I wonder if I ended up marrying a rich man and became a stepmother. Scratching my head, I asked in the gentlest voice I could muster, "Kid, what's your name? How old are you this year?" The child's chubby face was filled with a sense of grievance, seemingly baffled that a mother could forget her child's name. "Mommy, my name is Zhou. And my nickname is Tong Tong. I'm 4.5 years old, Zhou." It seems I really didn't end up with my dream guy after all. I continued, "Tong Tong, let me test you. What is your dad's name?" "My daddy is called Tong Tong." "There you are. It's time to go downstairs for your studies. Don't disturb the lady's rest." an aunt suddenly appeared at the door, interrupting Tong Tong's response. "Lady, I'm so sorry, I wasn't watching Tong Tong closely. I'll take him downstairs now." The aunt hurried over, trembling, and pulled Tong Tong away. I was somewhat confused and could only nod in response. Ever since I woke up, the attitude of this aunt has been strange, as if I were some kind of terrible monster. Since I couldn't find out my husband's name, I decided to look for clues myself. The bedroom was luxuriously decorated, yet there were no wedding photos or signs of another person living there. Could this be the legendary husband who sends money every month but never comes home? As I stepped out of the room, I realized it was a two-story Western-style house. Downstairs, Tong Tong was quietly leaning against the floor-to-ceiling windows playing with a puzzle. The sunlight scattered across the floor, his long eyelashes casting shadows, making him look so well-behaved and instantly melting my heart. I quickly approached him, startling him. "Son, what are you playing with? Let mommy join you." Tong Tong looked up with wide eyes and immediately stood up as if he was being punished, timidly saying, "Mommy." I pulled him close and planted a kiss on his pale cheek. He touched his face, a look of surprise on his features. Watching his series of reactions, I could guess that 10 years from now, I might not be very fond of this child. Fortunately, Tong Tong was young and bore no grudges. I played with him for a while, and he happily began to share his puzzle with me. "Son, do you only have puzzles to play with? Kids his age usually have lots of toys." Tong Tong glanced at me cautiously and said, "Mommy used to say the other toys were too noisy and would get angry." Great. It seems I really have issues 10 years from now. Just then, the doorbell rang. It was Jining. When Jining entered, I barely recognized her. Was this the tomboyish childhood friend I knew? Not only had she grown out her hair, but she also sported large wavy curls and her makeup was impeccably done. I exaggeratedly widened my eyes and said, "Gorgeous, who are you?" Jining rolled her eyes at me. Tong Tong, however, seemed very familiar with her, immediately running up and calling out, "Auntie Ji." Jining patted Tong Tong on the head and said to me, "Let's go upstairs to talk." I quickly led her back to the bedroom and before she could start, I relayed everything from the beginning. After listening, Jining frowned and scrutinized me, delivering a soul-searching question. "How do you know you've time-traveled, and not just lost your memory?" That. I remember the last meal I had before time-traveling was tomato beef stew in the school cafeteria, fragrant. I remember that 2 days before I crossed over, I had just taken an exam and I still remember the questions. If I really had amnesia, it's unlikely I would remember such details for 10 years. Jining raised an eyebrow but remained silent. She understood me as well as she knew herself. Feeling a bit embarrassed, I pursed my lips and said, "Well, the day before, I had just accepted Jiangji's confession." Jining's smile drooped suddenly, and she let out a cold chuckle. Then she rattled off everything that had happened over the past 10 years. It turned out that 10 years later, I really was ill. I had bipolar disorder, and the reason for my illness was that my ex-boyfriend, Jiangji, had cheated on me. Jining said that after Jiangji and I got together, although he seemed nice to me on the surface, he was actually manipulating me behind my back. By the time she noticed something was wrong with me, it was too late. Later, Jiangji falsely accused Jining of seducing him, and in my confused state, I ended our friendship. At the age of 27, I was dumped by Jiangji, and his new girlfriend was my college roommate. Unable to bear it, I developed bipolar disorder. Damn, that's just too tragic. I rubbed my forehead, lamenting. This was like the tragic first half of Yaoanan's life, and my current husband. That was what concerned me the most at the moment. Jining looked at me, paused for a moment before saying, "It's Zhou Shujin." What? I never dreamed that 10 years later, I would end up marrying Zhou Shujin. Jining, Zhou Shujin, and I could be described as childhood friends who grew up together. We all lived in the same building as kids and attended the same school. Zhou Shujin was always the legendary kid from someone else's family, handsome, academic, and morally upright, helping old ladies cross the road, giving up his seat for old men. When I was younger, the more my parents praised him, the more I found him annoying, but being superficial, I couldn't help but stare at him, often making him blush. Once I outgrew my childish phase and started experiencing early romantic feelings, I did harbor some thoughts about him, but there were too many people who liked him, and I could only admire him from afar. Even though he showed some different feelings towards me, I only saw it as childhood friendship, especially since he later went abroad. Now, Jining told me that Zhou Shujin had married me. This shock was comparable to the national football team making it to the World Cup, in a flash. Another question crossed my mind. Old Ning, Tang Tang is 4.5 years old this year, and Jiang Ji and I broke up when I was 27, so who is Tong Tong's father? Ji Ning looked at me uncomfortably and said, we had fallen out at the time, so I could only gather information about you through others. I heard, you and Zhou Shujin were caught in bed by Jiang Ji, but honestly, I don't know about Tang Tang. The amount of information was overwhelming, my CPU was overloaded, meaning I might have been pregnant with someone else's child when I married Zhou Shujin. This guess made my vision go dark. No wonder there were only traces of my life in the room. Zhou Shujin probably despised me. Since that was the case, why would he agree to marry me? Wait, that doesn't make sense. Ning Ning, Jiangji cheated. How could Zhou Shujin and I end up being caught by him, even if I could do such a thing? Zhou Shujin wasn't that kind of person, Ji Ning said. I'm not clear on the details. It seems Jiangji broke up with you first, but you absolutely refused, and then he turned the tables on you and Zhou Shujin by seizing the opportunity to counterattack. 8. The plot is so surreal. I touched my face and said, I feel like I have a kind of beautiful absence of brainstem. Ji Ning patted me. Accept reality, sister. After being manipulated, you've turned brainless, but, speaking from the heart, whether you have amnesia or have traveled through time, I have only one thing to say, be nicer to Tang Tang. I won't interfere with your issues with Zhou Shujin, but the child is really pitiful. Zhou Shujin is busy with work, spending half the year away from home. You originally didn't like Tang Tang and didn't care for him at all. I cried. Dad might be a fake dad, but mom is definitely a real mom. Angel baby Tang Tang. In the time to come, please feel the fiery love of a mother. 9. I had just finished making a checklist for a motherhood plan. In a couple of days, little Tang Tang went off to kindergarten. It turned out he was previously on summer vacation. Normally, like Tong Tong's private kindergarten, they don't have to take holidays, but most children come from affluent families, and many parents want to take the time to travel with their kids. Thinking of Tang Tang playing with puzzles alone downstairs that day, my heart felt like I had swallowed a lemon. I planned to definitely take Tang Tang out to play in a couple of days. At dinner, Tang Tang sat swinging his little legs on the chair, telling me about his day at kindergarten. After a few days together, he was no longer so afraid of me. At bedtime, Tang Tang rarely asked to sleep with me. He wore his dinosaur pajamas, lying obediently beside me. Mom, tell a story. I took the book and made up a story. Once upon a time, there was a Snow White prince. After hearing the story, Tang Tang said with a smile, Tang Tang is the Snow White prince, Mom is the princess. And Tang Tang will marry Mom in the future. I teased him, but Mom has Dad. Alas, Tang Tang can't marry Mom. Unexpectedly, just as I finished speaking, Tong Tong's mood suddenly dropped. Right, ever since I traveled here, I've never heard Tang Tang bring up Zhou Shujin. Could it be that Zhou Shujin hasn't been good to him? So I tentatively asked, don't you like Dad? Tang Tang shook his head frantically. I like Dad, it's just. His look became cautious, clearly indicating that it was me who didn't like Zhou Shujin. That's hardly possible. 10. That day, after the aunt took Tang Tang to school, I started to organize some junk. Unexpectedly, I found a wedding photo in the corner of the storage room. In the photo, my expression was wooden, like a soulless puppet, while Zhou Shujin, although smiling, had a trace of melancholy in his eyes. It was so unflattering that I instinctively wanted to flip the photo over, but then I heard a clang. A small box that was tucked behind the photo fell to the ground. Curious, I opened it to find Tong Tong's birth certificate, a note I had once passed to Zhou Shujin in class, and a love letter. It was from 16-year-old Zhou Shujin to 16-year-old Yaoanan. In that moment, I couldn't quite identify my feelings. It felt like a dish of vinegary bitter melon, full of sourness and regret. The love letter was 16 years overdue. I stared blankly for a long while before nonchalantly putting it back in its place. 11. At the kindergarten gate, teachers were leading groups of little ones. It seems children have a special ability to spot their parents in a crowd instantly. When Tang Tang saw me, his eyes lit up, and he waddled over like a little duck. Looking up, his little face flushed. He said, "Thank you, Mom, for coming to pick me up." My heart instantly melted. From now on, Mom will come to pick you up from school every day. Can you also drop me off that morning? I firmly shook my head. Sweetie, Mommy can't get up early in the morning. Just then, a little girl ran over and asked me, Auntie, are you Zhou Yu's mom? I nodded. The little girl looked me over and complimented, Auntie, you are so beautiful. but why haven't you ever picked up Zhou Yu before? His classmates say you don't like him." Before I could reply, Tang Tang clenched the corner of my clothes, slightly annoyed, and said, "Don't talk nonsense. My mom loves me." The little girl looked at me and then at Tang Tang, seeming a bit at a loss. I quickly calmed them down. After returning home, I noticed that Tang Tang seemed a bit down, so I bought him a lot of snacks that I love and promised to give him a big gift for his birthday. Tang Tang looked at me with anticipation and said, "That's great. Dad also said he would come back." Oh dear. I just saw a love letter today and wasn't sure how to face Zhou Shujin yet, and he's coming back already. That evening, I planned to follow the motherly duties checklist and help Tang Tang take a bath, but he absolutely refused. Blinking his big eyes seriously, he said, "I have my privacy, Mom doesn't, and I'm almost 5 years old, I can wash by myself." I pinched his chubby little hands and said, "Really, shampoo might get in your eyes and hurt, and you are still only 4.5. After hesitating for a moment, Tang Tang decided to accept his mom's help. But he blushed and covered himself throughout the process. Soon, it was Tong Tong's birthday. He was more excited than ever. Unfortunately, the weather was not kind. Just after noon, it started to pour heavily. Zhou Shujin was supposed to arrive by afternoon flight, but it was uncertain if he could make it on time. So I called Tang Tang over to open his presents as he eagerly looked out the window. I had prepared 5 gifts, hoping to make up for the previous neglect of his birthday. Tang Tang, still a child, quickly became engulfed in the joy of his new toys. When Zhou Shujin entered, I was playing with Tang Tang in an electric toy car. "Mom, it's my turn. You said just a little while. Be good, son, Mommy will play a bit longer." Hearing the door, we instinctively looked towards it. Outside was a pouring rain. And Zhou Shujin arrived, his suit mostly wet. Tang Tang excitedly ran to him calling out "Daddy," but he looked up at me. Our eyes met across the room, and my heart pounded. Even though I hadn't traveled through time, it had been nearly 2 years since I'd last seen Zhou Shujin. I have to admit, him with glasses and his suit wet through was like a scene out of my dreams. Handsome man, glasses, wet suit, who would understand? I snapped back to reality and greeted him stammeringly. Zhou Shujin, however, took off his wet coat and came straight over to give me a hug. I was stunned. Wasn't this moving a bit too fast? He whispered in my ear, "Anan, I'm back." I resisted the urge to rub my ears and immediately hugged him back. After all, between husband and wife, how could it be taking advantage? Zhou Shujin had just changed his clothes and come downstairs. I scratched my face. The birthday song I had planned to sing was brewing in my mind for a while, but I never opened my mouth to start. Tang Tang keenly glanced at me, then looked at his dad, then he loudly made a wish. "I hope I can sleep with Mom and Dad tonight." I pursed my lips. "Good child, truly like you." However, Zhou Shujin glanced at me and said to Tang Tang, "Once a wish is spoken, it won't come true." His reaction instantly dampened my enthusiasm. I had forgotten, Tang Tang might not be his son. I'm not one to procrastinate, so while Tang Tang was away, I directly said, "Zhou Shujin, we need to talk." As soon as the words left my mouth, his expression darkened. "I'm tired, whatever it is, we can talk about it tomorrow." He had just hugged me when he entered, and now he turned around with a cold expression. "When I take a shower later, I'll just unplug your water heater." From the next day, Zhou Shujin began avoiding me. Every day when I got up, he had already gone to work. "What time do you wake up?" "In the coffee shop." Jining looked at me suspiciously. I touched my nose. "Waking up at 9 isn't that normal?" Jining asked me if I liked Zhou Shujin. I sipped my coffee, disguising my emotions. Initially, when Jiangji pursued me, I agreed because he was considerate, handsome, but the feelings for Zhou Shujin were different. Jining rolled her eyes. "If you ask me, it's all Zhou Shujin's fault. If he wasn't so secretly troubled, there wouldn't be any issues with that jerk." Yes, she's right. Rather than blaming oneself, it's easier to disparage others. I was about to continue chatting with Jining when suddenly my phone rang. 20 minutes later, I was at the kindergarten gate. The reason was simple. I was called in as a parent. In the office, Tang Tang had a stubborn look on his face. Another child was crying loudly. The teacher told me that Tang Tang had struck first, pushing the other child down. The child had scraped his hand, and his parents had been notified. I asked for the reason. Tang Tang looked at me pitifully, then buried his head in my chest and murmured, "He insulted Mom and didn't apologize. Why would that child insult me out of the blue?" At that moment, the other child's parents arrived, loudly exclaiming, "Who dares to bully my son?" It was a couple, The man gave me a sleazy look. The woman immediately got upset, picked up her son, and began accusing, "You are Zhou Yu's mom, I'm telling you this isn't over. You think you can bully my son?" I raised an eyebrow and replied. It was wrong for Zhou Yu to push him, but it was your son who was rude first. Seeing someone backing him up, the other child stopped crying, his eyes shifted, and he blurted out, "I didn't insult anyone, Zhou Yu's mom is pretty, just that she's a homewrecker fox spirit." Children don't understand the concept of a homewrecker. He must have picked that up from adults, little friend. Do you know that children who insult others might have their tongues bitten off by the big bad wolf while sleeping? The child immediately shut his mouth. The woman, with a mean face, said, "He's just a child. Why are you scaring him? My husband is the general manager of a big company, so what if our child cursed at you a few times?" She looked at me disdainfully and added, "Besides, the child wasn't wrong, not seeing him around before. Who knows what job he does," mimicking her tone. I took a good look at her and retorted, "Truly, ugly face, foul mouth, no wonder the child spews such filth. It seems like there's daily barking at home. Who are you calling a dog?" Before I could react, she attempted to rush over and grab my child, Tang Tang, from my arms. "Little brat, come here and apologize to my son." I dodged to the side, and seeing the situation escalate, the teacher immediately tried to intervene. As the scene grew more chaotic, the woman seized the moment to slap me across the face. Just then, a hand suddenly reached out and firmly grabbed the woman's arm. "Are you here to solve the problem, or are you here to hit someone?" Zhou Shujin frowned, his expression grim. The man, who had been enjoying the drama, suddenly widened his eyes and stuttered, "Boss Zhou." He hurriedly pulled his wife away, starting to apologize frantically. Zhou Shujin remarked, "What a coincidence. It's Mr. Chen." It turned out that this so-called general manager of a big company was just a supplier that Zhou Shujin's company was currently negotiating with. He was known for his questionable lifestyle, and his wife often cursed everything at home, leading their child astray. Zhou Shujin raised his hand, interrupting them. "Mr. Chen wasn't so cooperative just now, and rather than solving anything, it seemed more like he came to watch the show. Had I not intervened, my wife would have been slapped. I heard it was Zhou Yu who pushed your son. Let's have him checked at the hospital. We will cover all medical expenses, but before that, shouldn't Mr. Chen and his family apologize to my wife and son?" The couple immediately started nodding and bowing. I disliked their behavior in front of the child, so I took Tang Tang and left. Upon arriving home, I thought it was a good time to talk with Zhou Shujin. He immediately said, "I have to go back to the company." "Not so fast," at my signal. Zhou Tang Tang rushed over and hugged his dad's leg. Zhou Shujin frowned and said, "If it's about divorce, let's not talk about it in front of Tang Tang." I rolled my eyes, grabbed him, and pulled him into the room. I turned around and pinned him against the door. His heroic act just now was somewhat charming. I looked up at him and softly called, "Husband." Zhou Shujin's eyebrows didn't move, but his face turned as red as a steamed crab. My face also felt hot, and after a light cough, I began to explain about the time travel. After a while, he said, "Although it's hard to believe, it does make sense. Since Tong Tong's birthday, I sensed something was off, and thought it was because you wanted to divorce. Yes, it seems I was quite unpleasant towards you before. So, what Jining said about catching cheaters in bed, and Tang Tang. Tang Tang is my child. No doubt about that. As for the past, not having memories of it isn't necessarily a bad thing for you. Husband, spouses should be honest with each other." After I said this, Zhou Shujin adjusted his glasses and spilled everything. So, the word husband for this reserved man was like open sesame. According to Zhou Shujin's incomplete account, I deduced the truth. Jiang Ji, to break up, had thrown me under the bus with a setup, and indeed, Tang Tang was Zhou Shujin's child. We had a shotgun marriage, but I ended up hating him, resulting in us sleeping in separate rooms for many years. The weather is getting cooler. It's time for Zhang's group to go bankrupt. Zhou Shujin looked at me amusingly and said, "We called the police back then, but found no evidence, and you denied everything." In some ways, Jiang Ji is a talent too. After all, he unknowingly stole my brainstem, turning me into an idiot. Such are the dark chapters of life. Zhou Shujin and I chatted leisurely in the room for a long time, from the childhood days when I extorted him to buy me snacks, to just the other day when I broke Tong Tong's toy car. How did the nickname Tang Tang come about? Zhou Shujin's gaze shifted slightly, not answering immediately. Remembering his scholarly excellence, I asked, Is it from vast and endless like the oceans? His lips moved slightly, and somewhat sheepishly he said, "It's the tang from Tom, tang tang Tom." I glanced at. In the world of ruffians and scholars, none are simple. The casually hung Tom pajamas on the chair didn't speak. Silly kitten, who could not love it. 18, that day. In the end, I felt too shy to suggest he move back into the master bedroom. With matters of the heart, it's best to go with the flow. After all, he's my husband and he's not going anywhere. As for Jiangji, before I could even confront him, he had already initiated a class reunion in the university group chat. And he specifically tagged me. Seeing the message made me want to rush to the bathroom to slap myself twice. Yaoanan, oh Yaoanan, how could you have been blinded by such crap back then? If I had known, I would have chased Zhou Shujin relentlessly since childhood. Of course, I would attend the reunion, but I wasn't planning to go alone. I told Zhou Shujin directly. He asked me what I thought, and I said, "Let's first get a feel of the situation, then seek justice where due." I patted his shoulder. "Mr. Zhou, please make sure to back your wife up impressively." Zhou Shujin raised an eyebrow but said nothing. 19. On the day of the reunion, I had planned to go with Zhou Shujin and return quickly, but as it happened, the aunt took leave, so I had to bring Tang Tang along. Given my past with Jiangji, many people had heard about it. Fearing their indiscretion, I asked Zhou Shujin to stay in the car with Tang Tang first. Sure enough, as soon as I appeared, many classmates gathered around to talk. Some were comforting, others mocking. I looked at their familiar faces. Not long ago, they had appeared vibrant and energetic, now entirely consumed by worldliness. Thanks to their loose lips, I also learned some details about Jiangji. Turns out, my college roommate got several properties from a demolition deal, which is how she stole him away, and now he has started his own company, which reportedly isn't doing too badly. After a short while of commotion, Jiangji and his wife arrived. Looking at him now, I felt only relief, glancing at his receding hairline, prominent belly, and his puffy, doughy face. Where was the trace of the campus heartthrob from back then? And he had the nerve to tag me. And still as beautiful as ever after 5 years, Jiangji came over to talk to me. Putting on an act, I forced a smile, turned, and ducked into the bathroom to call Zhou Shujin to come up and fetch me. What's the point in one-upmanship? I had no interest in it. On the phone, Zhou Shujin chuckled and said he'd be right up. 20. Just as I stepped out of the bathroom, I was startled by a dark figure leaning against the wall. Then the shadow spoke. "Hey there, how have you been these years?" It turned out to be Jiangji. I almost thought someone had moved the wardrobe to the bathroom door. Seeing that I didn't respond, he even tried to pull my hand. I wished I could jump up right there and bounce away for miles. "Stay back. I'm allergic to ugliness." Jiangji's face twisted momentarily but quickly recovered. "Hey, are you still mad at me?" I had no choice back then. I quickly waved my hands to interrupt him, bowed 3 times right there to thank him for not marrying me back then, a favor akin to giving me a new life. Then I hurried back to the reunion. No sooner had I settled on the sofa than Jiangji followed. The noisy venue fell silent for a moment, then whispers began. "Is this our classmate? Such a handsome guy. Did we ever have someone like this at our school? Come on, even the Jiangji from back then can't compare. He's 3 times less." I looked in the direction of the voices. Zhou Shujin had arrived. I breathed a sigh of relief and hurried over to cling to his arm. "Let me introduce you. This is my husband." Since Tang Tang was still waiting for us in the car, Zhou Shujin and I made a brief appearance and then left. Looking at Jiangji and Zhou Shujin standing together, they looked like they were from different generations. I thought to myself, there really are no grievances that can't be overcome in this world. As we were going downstairs, Zhou Shujin jokingly asked if the face-slapping drama I had prepared was cancelled. Pretending to be overwhelmed by alcohol, I gently rested my head on his shoulder and whispered softly, "We've already won." 21. The evening breeze on a summer night is always so gentle. I suggested we just leave the car here and take a walk as a family. Under the dim streetlights, Tang Tang hopped and jumped, loudly singing, "Loving You." I walk alone through dark alleys. I looked at Zhou Shujin beside me, whispered a few words into his ear. His eyes sparkled as he turned to look at me, his expression mirroring Tong Tong's. Smiling, I took his arm and pointed to a public electric bike ahead. "Honey, I'm tired. Let's ride that home." His expression, so gentle moments ago, suddenly became indescribable. Glancing at the little dress I was wearing, he asked, "Are you sure?" I blinked. Zhou Shujin, with a resigned expression, took off his suit jacket and tied it around my waist. Then, wearing his shirt. He took Tang Tang in front, and me in the back, and rode the electric bike. Tang Tang had never ridden an electric bike before. The air was filled with his joyful laughter. However, we didn't get far before a traffic cop stopped us, because it's a fine of 20 yuan for carrying passengers on an electric bike. Alas, in the end, we had to take a taxi home. 22. Later, after a long while, I saw Jiangji again. At that time, I was taking Tang Tang out to snack on street food. Unwittingly attracted by the aroma of fried stinky tofu at the street corner, I scanned the QR code. Only to find out that Jiangji was the one pushing the cart selling stinky tofu. He recognized me too, looked miserable, and rambled on about how his company's tax issues had caused most clients to leave, and the finance department had run off with the remaining funds. He had closed his company, yet was burdened with debt. In the end, this jerk even tried to pua me, but unfortunately, he no longer had his former capital. Suppressing my disgust, I said, "Don't worry. I'll definitely think of a way to help you once I get back." As soon as I walked away, I made a call. "Hello, I'd like to report unlicensed business activity here." Watching as Jiangji's cart was confiscated by the city management, I shed tears of sorrow. Such a pity for my stinky tofu, bringing Tang Tang to eat junk food again. Just as Tang Tang and I were hiding in the crowd enjoying the scene, Zhou Shujin caught us red-handed. I chuckled, "We haven't eaten anything, we're just here for the fun." Tang Tang quickly agreed, yes, Mom and I didn't eat any fried skewers, grilled cold noodles, or octopus balls. Tang Tang has always been a clever child. Zhou Shujin looked at us helplessly and said, "Next time you want to eat something, tell me, it's not clean outside." I nodded while ordering food. As the street lights began to glow, our family of 3 slowly walked home, back to the present. Just a moment ago, I was cuddled up in Zhou Shujin's arms, talking about having a second child. The next second, I opened my eyes and was back in the dormitory. In my drowsy state, I even answered a morning call. "Baby, get up, your dear boyfriend is waiting downstairs hungry." I jolted awake and sat up in bed. Who is this greasy man possessed by someone else? Ah, I remember now, it's the scumbag Jiangji. Just thinking about his face 10 years from now makes me lose my appetite for 3 days. So I rushed downstairs and dumped him in front of everyone. Then I called Zhou Shujin. The phone rang for a while before he answered, his voice husky, and then he fell silent. Remembering that I had just officially announced my relationship with Jiangji last night, I cleared my throat and asked, "Zhou Shujin, visible from afar, yet separated by a wall as high as a city, what did you mean by that post on your moments this morning?" Zhou Shujin's breathing hitched but he didn't speak. I rolled my eyes. Typical brooding man. "I'll give you one chance, no questions asked. Just answer me. Do you want to have a relationship aimed at marriage with me?" "Yaoanen, I like you, always have, so why didn't the love letter reach me?" "You knew." "I knew 10 years later, because that day, I heard you say in the classroom that you would never like Zhou Shujin in this lifetime. The one time I played hard to get, it cost me dearly." "Zhou Shujin, actually, I've traveled here from 10 years in the future. You might not believe it, but 10 years from now, we're married. Yes, we even have a child." My straightforward confession made Zhou Shujin fly back from across the ocean overnight. Not only did he confess his feelings to me again formally, but he also hurried home to have dinner with me. Thus, a year after graduation, Zhou Shujin and I got married and took beautiful wedding photos. Jining praised me greatly when she was my bridesmaid. After the wedding, Zhou Shujin and I focused on our careers and didn't rush to have children, until I was 27 years old. "Is it today?" Zhou Shujin asked softly next to my ear. I hugged his neck, still half asleep, and replied, "Today is Tong Tong's birthday." Zhou Shujin paused, his face sweating. There are 12 months in a year." I tried to make sense of his words with my muddled brain. "Pregnancy takes 10 months. He stroked my head and said, "So it should be 2 months later." 12 months later, I finally gave birth to a lovely baby. Zhou Shujin named him Zhouyu, crossing the long river of time. Amid miracles that science cannot explain, time and again, I encounter you.